sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marcia Teal. Marcia will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marcia has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marcia covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marcia Teal, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. I'm so happy that you could join us today. We have another wonderful show for you. Whether you're listening to us on local radio on 95.3 FM or 1470 AM, or whether you are actually watching us live stream on caregiversolutions.info, I'm so glad that you did. So this show is for caregivers and those who want to learn more about caregiving and learn more about dementia, Alzheimer's, and what all that entails, because it's becoming so prevalent now. The baby boomers are aging. We're all getting older. It's becoming a tsunami of Alzheimer's out there. And if you have not really experienced that in your life to this point, you probably will. You never know when you're going to run into it. Your neighbor, someone in your family, somebody at the store, somebody at the bank. And you might wonder, why is that person acting so strangely? And why is the person at the bank, keep repeating the questions all the time to the teller? And you may not realize it, and they might not realize it, but this person could have some memory loss to the point where they're really not able to function. So there's a lot to learn on the caregiving path, especially when we're dealing with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, about what to expect, what to do. There is no official roadmap because you're just on this journey that you never thought you'd be on before. So this is a resource for caregivers to learn more about what to expect and to get tips, advice, and some good practical suggestions on what could help your caregiving journey be a little bit better. So my question to you today as caregivers, maybe your loved one just got diagnosed, maybe it's been a while, maybe you're caring for them at home, maybe, hopefully, you've even gone out in the community and toured assisted livings for memory care, because that would be probably the first place you would go to when you're thinking about down the road placement and not a nursing home. And you've kind of done your homework that way, but you're kind of stuck right there, and you're not sure what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Well, this show is for you. This is a show today about a caregiver that says, I might need that down the road, but I'm not ready, or my spouse isn't ready. And you don't really know when ready is going to be. And really, it's hard to pinpoint that. But we need to have that discussion so that you are prepared. And so today, it's my pleasure to have a guest that has been in the field of caregiving and been in the field of memory care for quite many years. And she's here today with me to discuss those questions and more. So her name is Sunny Netto. Hi, Sunny.
Hi, Marcia. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. Sunny is the marketing director at the Arden Courts Memory Care Community in Delray Beach, Florida. And we're right here in Boca Raton live, and you're just up the road from here, your community. Mm-hmm. Sunny, how long have you been in healthcare in general?
About 13 years.
Okay, so you've been around caregivers quite a bit, helped them a lot,
Yes.
and deal with them on a day-to-day basis.
And I was also a child caregiver. Both of my grandmothers lived with us. One lived with us for 4 years. They both had, well, one had dementia, the other had vascular dementia, the other had Alzheimer's. So
You were little.
I was very little.
So you grew up as a caregiver helping to take care of your elderly grandparents.
I did. My grandmother was total care, and I was 10 years old caring for her, and until we had to place her.
So you learned at a young age, and I'm sure all that experience now is really helping you deal with the family issues that come up with others and their families, and knowing about how they feel on a personal level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's good because, when we're helping caregivers as professionals, we want to have that empathy for the caregiver and the empathy for the patient, too. And one thing that you'll find out about Sunny and myself and many others in the caregiving field, especially those at Arden Courts, we have the empathy that's required to help families, and it's so important. So, Sunny, we're talking about today caregivers that are in a flux. They're doing the best they can. They have a lot on their plate, a lot going on. They're trying their best to juggle everything, and on a day-to-day basis take care of their loved one at home. And they really don't know what to do sometimes because no one has printed out an actual roadmap that says step 1, step 2, all the way through, because you can't. I mean, it's impossible to almost anticipate everything that's going to happen, but there certainly are some things that are a commonality to all caregivers and all people that are dealing with dementia. Would you not agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what we want to do then is try to help caregivers kind of plan for this trip, this caregiving trip, and be flexible about it. Because one thing that caregivers, if you haven't already learned, you might have a plan, and that would be your plan A, but you better have plan B, C, D, E, F, G, because anything can happen at any time, and you need to be prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is being knowledgeable, getting educated, making a plan, but being ready to make adjustments to that plan at any point in time. So earlier, when we first started the show, I hear a lot, and I'm sure you do too, from caregivers that have maybe taken a look, and they decide, this is where I want my loved one to go. I love the Arden Courts, for instance. Could be another place if there's not an Arden Courts near you, but you've done your homework, you've found a nice place that you say, that would be where I would like to have my loved one if I need it, if he has to go. Well, that's the big question, is the if and the when, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But a lot of caregivers, they struggle. They're going through a lot of stress. They're overwhelmed. You can see it in their face. You can hear it in their voice. But yet, when you ask them, why don't you, take the next step and place your loved one in a memory care community, we hear, well, I'm not ready, or my husband's not ready. Do you hear that too?
I hear it all the time.
Okay. So what does that mean? What are they really saying? And that's what we want to talk about today. What are they really saying when they say, I'm not ready? So if I were the wife of a husband who had Alzheimer's, and I've been doing it for 5 years, and I say, I'm not ready, all right, forget about him for a second. This is the caregiver. I'm not ready. What do you think she's really saying?
She could be saying many things. One, she could be saying that I don't want my friends or my family to think badly of me because I might place, because there's been such a stigma on assisted livings or quote-unquote nursing homes. We are memory care assisted living, and we are quite different than that now, but the word placement has a stigma.
Yeah, it's almost like the caregiver might think that others are going to think badly of them.
Yes.
Because they couldn't do it, right?
Right. And they're very proud. They have been able to do it. They've been very strong women and have taken care of their loved one very well. and they can't even stand to think that somebody else is going to maybe, they know somebody's not going to do it as well as they do. And that may or may not be true. Not everybody's meant to be a caregiver, but they've been taking such good care of their loved ones for so long.
They're afraid to let go.
Yes, they're afraid to let go. It's given them purpose. A lot of times that's what we see. That's their life. It's become their daily routine. Their loved one's routine is their routine.
Yes, that's their life. And you give that up to somebody else, and all of a sudden they're left with what? I mean, what are they going to do with themselves? And I think a lot of them have invested so much of their life and their time and their energy into caregiving that they really don't have a life outside of caregiving.
Exactly.
And that can be scary for, a spouse taking care of their loved one.
Absolutely. They've been with their spouse their entire life. Think about that. A lot of them come in, they've been married 60 years. They don't know what to do with themselves without the other. So, they have stopped the other activities that they've been doing with their friends, or maybe they outlived their friends or something like that. So,
So there's a lot of fear in that because, they're not ready because they don't know what's going to happen to them.
On the other side,
and I hear that a lot too. For instance, I had a gentleman who was the caregiver for his wife for many, many years. And he was frail too, but, he was okay, cognitively wise, but he was frail, trying to take care of his wife who had Alzheimer's. And he said, what would I do without her being with me? I'd be lonely sleeping at night without her. And he was thinking, about that aspect of it, that if I let someone else help me care for her, I'm going to be alone at night in my bed without my wife that I've slept with for 60 years. I think that's scary to some people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, when they say, I'm not ready, they're really not prepared for the consequences of the next step.
Of what's on the other side. And again, some of them, they've lost their friends. As their loved one has progressed in their disease, they've lost their friendships or the couples that they used to go out with. It's harder for the other couple to maintain a relationship or know how to deal with the disease or know what to say when the person with Alzheimer's says some things that they do.
Right.
So they don't quite know how to react.
But to your point, if you have a social group that you're going out with and you identify yourself in a social group, whether it's going to the club or going to dinner and a movie or whatever it might be, and you still have your spouse, all of a sudden, if your spouse isn't there because now they live in a community, you're like a third wheel, number one, right? And maybe you feel like you won't be included anymore. And as long as you keep your loved one at home that has Alzheimer's, you're still a part of a social group. And maybe you're afraid to give that up or you're afraid that it won't continue. So there's a lot of things that when a caregiver says, I'm not ready, we have to read between the lines and see what they're really saying. So I think fear is a big part of it. Purpose, like you said, they're not going to have that purpose anymore. They're going to have too much free time that maybe they're afraid they won't be able to fill because they've given up activities, given up, social things.
Pride.
The pride is another reason, I'm going to be a martyr. I'm going to do or die, and a lot of times they do die because we know that over 60% of caregivers caring for someone are going to pass away before a person that is not caring for someone, like in the same realm. So don't be, so prideful, and don't be a martyr because it could kill you. I mean, it could literally kill you, and unfortunately, we've seen that too.
And those are the real statistics.
Yeah, those are statistics. So this is what we're talking about today, folks. Caregivers have a hard time, and we're here to help. But we're going to talk about real stuff that, caregivers need to hear. Sometimes it's hard to hear, and it's almost like pushing the envelope a little bit, but sometimes, that's necessary for a caregiver to be able to feel what needs to be felt and know, in their heart and in their head, that get them on the same page so that they can make a good decision. So we're going to be talking about that and more. So we're going to go to our first commercial break, and we will be right back.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Being unable to
Solutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
And we're back, and my guest today is Sunny Netto. She is the marketing director of the Arden Courts Memory Care Community in Delray Beach, Florida. Hi, Sunny. Thanks again
Marcia.
for being here. So we're talking about caregiving and not knowing when's a good time to take the next step to help your loved one in the caregiving journey and on the journey, the path that a loved one unnecessarily, unfortunately, has to take going through disease like Alzheimer's. So we talked about a wife that says, I'm not ready, and what that really means, what she's talking about. What about when you talk to a caregiver and they say, well, my husband has Alzheimer's, but he's not ready. He's not ready to go into a memory care community. Let's break that one down a little bit, because why would a caregiver say they're not ready? And let's talk about some of those things. So what would you think that she's really talking about?
Well, first of all, some of the reasons they say that their loved one is not ready is because he can still walk, he still can bathe himself, or he is still continent, or he still knows me. So these are all the reasons they give, or the want of, or the old saying that you want to keep your loved one home as long as possible, and that's the best thing for them.
And that's not necessarily true. Right. I mean, in some cases it may be, but it's not necessarily true.
Right. I think we've learned a lot over the years about Alzheimer's and what one needs to have a better quality of life.
And that's the key phrase right there, quality of life. That's the key phrase. So how would a caregiver know when's, I don't want to say the best time, because everything's flexible, but when is a good time for them to actually consider placing their loved one into a memory care community? And because I hear a lot of them say, I'm going to wait until they don't know me anymore. I'm going to wait until they're incontinent. I don't want to deal with that mess, or I'm going to wait until, he's, his health is failing. And in a lot of these cases, by people waiting, they wait too long. And what's going to happen if they wait too long?
Most likely a crisis. And then that adds extra stress on the caregiver. You may not get into the community that you'd like to be into.
In other words, if you wait too long, you might be forced to go into a nursing home. And, people really don't plan to go into a nursing home. It's mostly something that's forced upon you because of necessity.
And you're forced into plan C and D, and you never have the opportunity to have that plan A or B. So
So don't wait for a crisis.
Don't wait for a crisis.
We say that all the time to caregivers, but here's the point. No one can tell you when a crisis is going to happen.
Right.
So how do you know how to prevent a crisis happening by knowing when's the best time to make the move before a crisis happens?
We really need to look at what you said earlier, what we said earlier. The key words were quality of life.
And what does that mean, quality of life? Because quality of life can mean a lot of things to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But it's not just quality of life for your loved one who has the disease, it's quality of life for the caregiver too. So I think you have to evaluate both of them. All right? So give me what would be a way for a caregiver to evaluate their quality of life.
Well, first of all, we have tools at Arden Courts that can measure and see how much of a burden or stress it's having on their life. Something that's they can see in writing,
concrete,
black and white.
Black
Concrete,
and white.
Black and white.
Like, are they still participating in normal activities that they enjoy?
Right.
Are they still staying in touch with their loved ones and
Right.
their friends? Are they still, taking time for themselves? And things like this that,
Right.
a lot of caregivers wouldn't even think about, looking at. And there's a scale that, like you said, you can actually measure. And it's a tool that Arden Courts can provide to somebody if they want that tool to look at it. So quality of life means both the caregiver and the person with the dementia having quality of life. And I always say that if everything's equal, if it's a scale, and you have the scale with the chains, and here's the two sides of a scale. Well, if they're equal, then, everything is good. If quality of life is there, everything is good. But if quality of life for one, being this one here, this hand being the caregiver, if it goes down, then it's not good because you want to make it equal again. So something has to give. By the same token, if this hand here is the patient and all of a sudden something's gone down to cause their quality of life to decline, you got to do something. So the idea is to have quality of life, and assuming that quality of life means everything is equal, good, right? Then you have to look at that. So if quality of life declines for a loved one because maybe they're not getting enough stimulation.
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
Well, that's what we've found over the years, is that someone with Alzheimer's or related dementias needs stimulation, engagement, socialization, or they will decline quicker.
So it does keep them better at a higher cognitive level because of that stimulation and that social time.
Absolutely.
So if someone were home and all the time and they were isolating because they were just with their spouse, and even if they had home health aide coming in to help, it's not the same.
Right. It's not the same than being in a group of people. And even if they're not communicating verbally with them, there's stimulation by seeing a group of people, being in a room with peers, or whatever activity is going on, whether it's live music and word games, and they're hearing things, they're hearing words that they're familiar with, even if they can't say them. These are stimulating things for them.
Right. I call it a passive stimulation. So
Yes.
if someone's not in an active stimulation state where they're actually saying the words or singing, but they're in a passive state of getting that stimulation where it's still affecting them because they can hear, they can see, they're watching, they know what's going on, rather than being home, staring at a blank wall or looking at a television, endlessly for hours that they can't understand anyway.
And I think it's flipped. The sense of dignity, we think of sense of dignity as sitting at home in front of our TV and not being in a community. But here, I think, in my opinion, they have a sense of dignity and a sense of independence being in a community where they are with a group of people and enjoying activity.
Absolutely. So caregivers, look at that scale, and evaluate your life, your quality of life, evaluate your loved one's quality of life. And if something is off, you need to do something about it.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean if something's off with your loved one, it doesn't mean you have to go tomorrow and place them in a community. You have to do adjustments, and some adjustments are little, and some adjustments are big. So if you're in a crisis, which you shouldn't wait for, and you need to place because it's a crisis situation, that's one thing. But if you need to make a smaller adjustment, it might not mean that you have to go right into a community and place in a memory care. It might mean something as simple as going to a daycare center.
Yes.
Now, how is that going to benefit somebody?
One, it gives them the stimulation, engagement, and socialization they need. And two, it helps them adjust for what's to come.
Absolutely.
Because unfortunately, most people will need to place their loved one in a community at some point, and most times they cannot take care of their loved one in their home. So this helps them adjust. They go there every day, and they get used to it.
It's
over
sort of
time.
like a segue, into from home into an assisted living for memory care, going to a day center. It also not only gives them that stimulation, socialization, but it helps with that separation anxiety. A lot of caregivers fear that too because their loved one can't seem to do without them. I mean, it's almost like having a 2-year-old follow you around the house all the time. You don't even have privacy to go to the bathroom sometimes because they're right there. Right. And so they're glued together. They're like joined at the hip and they're glued together. And that, I think, is another fear of caregivers is if I place my loved one into a community, what's going to happen because they can't do without me.
Right.
And they're fearful of how that person's going to adjust without them. So by starting on a smaller scale and making that smaller adjustment to a day center, that gives that separation, but yet they're still coming back home, but it eases into that separation where your loved one is going to realize they can do without you. And at first, for a few hours a day, a few days a week, and you kind of like work on that for a while until eventually when you do have to place, I think people that come into a assisted living for memory care seem to do better if they've already been through a daycare situation. What do you think?
I do too.
Yeah. So these are some ways that you want to evaluate your life and evaluate your loved one's life to make sure you're both getting quality of life. So we talked about what caregivers are afraid of. And let's go to that point. We just talked about not being happy. All right. I'm afraid, I'm a caregiver speaking, I'm afraid that my husband will be mad at me if I place him in assisted living for memory care. How do you talk to that?
Well, they may be for a little bit, but most times they're going to forget about it. They're going to get over it. They're going to forget about it, the initial change. And so also, they don't have reasoning. And, unfortunately, they cannot understand when you're trying to give them a reason for doing this.
Right.
So
they just see that they're not with their loved one who they're tethered to all the time. And yeah, they're going to be angry, but it's not a permanent thing. Because of the memory loss, right? They're going to forget, and then they're going to, in the meanwhile, they're going to transition. And, they're afraid that the person might not be happy, but it depends on the person, too. It depends on the patient. I mean, some call them a resident because when you're going into a assisted living, they're called residents, and usually in a nursing home situation, they're called patients, so that's a distinction there. But the resident sometimes isn't happy, and there's reasons why they're not happy. And one of them is because they're not seeing on a minute-to-minute basis that caregiver who they've been tied to for so long, and that makes them a little bit afraid. So sometimes when they're not happy, it's because they're afraid too. So you got two people being afraid, and
that's the reality of it, unfortunately. And the key to that, I think, is not having unrealistic expectations about what this is about. And sometimes, the adjustment takes 3 days, and sometimes it takes a month.
Exactly.
So it depends on the person, is like you said. Some of them adjust very well. It also depends on at what stage you bring them in which they're in their disease.
And
but everybody's different.
Right, and they can actually transition with coming in pretty much any stage, from high functioning to the middle stages to the lower. But everybody's different, and this is the tricky part, I think, that caregivers have, is they think they have to wait until the later stages before it benefits them or their loved one in a way that would make them feel okay with making that placement.
Right.
And I think that's the fallacy there.
And I think you and I both know, and we're not just saying this, that most people come in and say that they wish they had done it earlier because there were so many benefits to going into a community or an assisted living where their loved one had so much fun, seeing live music every week, you know, playing games and not just playing games, but playing games that they're successful at. You know, that's the thing. You know, oftentimes caregivers think that their loved one is still going to be able to do those puzzles and still be able to do that, even, you know, and as they decline, they still keep trying, and they may get up and the loved one get up and walk away. This was just an example of someone that, you know, was,
that you just dealt with. Yeah, and I think that's hard for caregivers to accept, that he can't do certain things anymore. But you know, at Arden Courts, I know we focus on what they can do, not on what they can't do. And that makes a big difference, because you want to elevate their self-esteem. You want to help them feel productive and feel like a part of something. So these are things that can benefit your loved one. But if you wait too long as a caregiver to make that transition, it may be too late. And that's the biggest thing, I think, is that I impart to caregivers is don't wait too long, because your loved one may not be able to benefit from all the wonderful things that they could, and at the same time keep their cognitive level functioning at a higher place. And
it's not just the loved one that can benefit. A lot of times with spouses, they benefit as well. You know, families come in, and especially at Arden Courts in Delray, the one, you know, I'm here now, there's so many family members that come in every day and are with their loved ones in activities, enjoying themselves, enjoying the music, enjoying the family nights that we have, enjoying you know, so many other things and activities that we're doing.
Yeah, it gives them a venue, a supportive venue, to be able to be a spouse again and not have to be a day-to-day, every minute, on-guard caregiver, so they can enjoy their loved one instead of toiling through all the caregiving tasks to do.
And have quality time with their loved one.
And that's what we're talking about. So we'll be right back. We'll take a commercial break from our sponsors, so stay tuned.
Being unable to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's or related dementias, even among their caregivers. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Somewhere at the corner of bewildered and confused is a lost mother, a father, a sibling, a grandparent. Wandering is a common symptom of Alzheimer's or related dementias, and can often make those who care for a loved one feel just as lost. If you're looking for a place that's safe and secure, look to Arden Courts. Memory care is all we do. We know, we understand, we can help. To learn more, visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration.
Care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Welcome back. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community. Arden Courts has about 50 communities scattered throughout the United States. We have 10 right here in Florida alone, and they are just, in my opinion, one of the best places you could ever visit for resources, for respite care, for help, questions, lots of things they can do, including support groups and seminars. But one of the things that Arden Courts would like to do for you right now is offer you this free book. It's called the 36-Hour Day Book. This is a resource for caregivers. It's chock full of information, definitions, explanations, tips, and more to help you on your caregiving journey. This book is written by Dr. Peter Rabins and Nancy Mace, and it's a wonderful resource for caregivers. If you don't have this book and you'd like to have it on your bookshelf so that when you take time for yourself as a caregiver and can sit down and read and then relax for a little while, this is a great book because it's an easy read. It doesn't have to be read from cover to cover. There's different chapters. You can choose whatever might be of interest to you at that time. And all you have to do to get the book is call Arden Courts on their toll-free line, which is 888-478-2410. Again, 888-478-2410. Tell them that you heard about this free offer on the Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and they'll get your name and address and make sure that a book is mailed to your doorstep right away. So I'm here with Sunny Netto. She's Marketing Director at Arden Courts Memory Care here in South Florida, specifically the Delray Beach location. And we're talking about caregivers and hard times that they go through, not knowing when's a good time to get more assistance for their loved one. And we're talking about all kinds of things. We're talking about guilt, and we're talking about stress, and we're talking about pride, and we're talking about all these things. But basically it comes down to quality of life and preventing a crisis. And that's the key. So, you know, we're talking about all kinds of things, but let's talk now about a caregiver who has decided, you know what, I don't want to wait for a crisis, right? You know, things seem to be going okay, but I know it's going to get worse, and I know it gets worse, and you never know when that turns the corner to going downhill. But there are good ways to transition, and one we spoke of earlier about going to a day center, let your loved one go and be with their peers and enjoy time without the primary caregiver. So that gives you, as a caregiver, too, a break and gives you some respite. But let's say that they're decided to place into a memory care, and hopefully it's Arden Courts, and they're worried about the first few days and how is it going to go, and how, you know, do I know that they're okay? And they have all this angst and worry. So we want to help eliminate that and those fears. It's natural, of course. You know, it's like giving your baby, you know, to somebody else in your care. So let's talk about that a little bit. You know, how would you comfort a concerned caregiver about those things?
Well, I would first talk about how we've been doing this for 20 years. And our caregivers are trained for this, and our managers are trained for this, and we want to help them feel comfortable, and we want to give them updates. And one thing that we do is we do limit visitation in the beginning.
Now, that's something that a lot of caregivers don't like. You mean I can't visit? And we're not saying no, you can't visit, but we're suggesting this might be the best way to help your loved one transition in the first few days, right?
Right.
Because what would happen if the loved one is in a community and the caregiver is there all the time from the get-go? What's going to happen?
The resident will continue to say, or they may say, I want to go home. I want to go home. Why are you doing this to me?
They're going to throw the guilt trip on.
Yeah, they're going to throw a guilt trip on them.
Big time.
And the caregiver is going to try to reason with them, which can't happen. And so it becomes an unproductive meeting. It becomes an unproductive situation. It only makes the caregiver feel worse. It only makes the resident feel worse. And most times the resident doesn't have a sense of time by that time. By the time they are in that stage.
Yeah, they're disoriented to time, and they don't understand if it's been an hour, you know, or 6 hours
Right.
or a day or a week.
Right.
So that's going to work to the advantage, right? Because it's going to help them transition because they're not really aware of time so much anymore.
Also, well, how would we comfort the caregiver,
The resident.
resident.
Yeah, because, you know, here they're coming into a new place. So we should talk about the things you want to do prior to moving in your loved one to a memory care community to make this easier from the get-go, right?
Right.
So one of the things we want to do is make this to where it's seamless and that it feels temporary to the loved one, right?
Right.
Because if a person, you know, had the wherewithal, because a lot of people that have Alzheimer's, you know, they live in the moment. And if you were to tell them that, look, you're leaving this house where we've shared together all these years and you're going to live apart from me and you're never coming back home, I don't think that's a
Right.
good thing to say because it's never going to go over very
No.
well because who would want that, right?
Right. So one technique, and coming back to comforting the caregiver, is that we make a story. We come up with something that we can say, and there's many things we've come up with. Whether the house needs to be tented for termites, or
Maybe, you know, the plumbing's broken.
plumbing's broken, we got to go out of the house. This isn't a hotel for seniors, and you're going to be staying here for a few days.
Or maybe I've got to go up north to help our
Right.
daughter because she's moving and,
Right.
you know, she needs me to help. And the doctor doesn't want you to travel right now.
Right.
So it's always good to blame it on the doctor, by the way.
Oh, yes.
So caregivers, if you feel guilty about this, it's actually called a therapeutic fib. And we're stretching the truth a little bit. Sometimes it is the truth. Sometimes it's totally made up. But why do we do this, Sunny?
We do this because we don't want the caregiver to feel that guilt. We don't want the resident to be pointing that guilt at the caregiver. It's just too much. It's already hard enough. You know, we're trying to make this as easy as possible, and you know, one should not feel bad about a therapeutic fib. This is all for the better of both of them.
For the greater good.
For the greater good. I've met people that said, I won't lie to my mom, I won't lie to my dad.
Yeah. And it's not to say that, you know, you don't want to tell the truth. You can in some cases. It all depends, again,
Just
on
on
the
the person.
personality of the resident. It depends on their personality, how much they can comprehend.
At what stage they are in the disease process.
So many variables there.
There's definitely very many variables, or a lot of variables. But people, you know, professionals can help one discern what is appropriate for the caregiver and loved one at that time. To, you know.
Yeah. So it might be a good thing to have a half truth or something, a whole made up story. It just depends on if the resident is going to believe it and how they're going to accept it, but it's not for everybody. So what you want to do is have that discussion with a trained professional like they have at Arden Courts who can discuss that with you, who can delve into the personality and the behaviors of your loved one to come up with the best way to make this transition. Because again, you know, it's not all black and white. When you're dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia, it's a lot of gray areas. So sometimes it's by trial and error that caregivers do things. But because Arden Courts has been doing caregiving and memory care is all they do for over 20 years, we have that experience to help caregivers because we know what's worked before with someone in a similar situation. And so we can use all of that knowledge and experience to help other people. So I think that's one thing caregivers really struggle with. But they struggle also with, you know, not being able to see them. And it's not that we want to keep them away, but it helps the resident transition a little quicker, don't you think?
Yes, it decreases the dependency and starts it starts their independence. And a lot of times we see them, they seek out the community. They go around and they see what's around eventually, and they like it most times, and it does. It gives them a sense of independence, and it's good.
It is good because I've seen people come from home where they've been shut up in a house and not allowed to go outside, and all the doors are locked, and don't touch this and don't go there, and don't say that and don't eat that, and it's really a negative environment for someone at home.
They're literally locked in their homes,
and the caregiver with them sometimes. You're both like in a prison. So the freedom that they feel, the freedom that they have, the independence that I've seen residents bloom. I mean, come back to life because of the environment, and the environment makes all the difference in the world.
And especially for those residents that need to walk, they need to wander, they're exit seeking. At Arden Courts, at least we have 12 doors with exit signs where they can go in and out during the day unless it's bad weather.
And no one's saying, don't go out there, or no one's grabbing them, or no alarms are going off because they have the freedom to go out and enjoy that. So it's so different, and when caregivers realize the benefits to their loved one, of how much more they can have by coming into a community, it's like mind-blowing, because people don't realize, and it's not easy. I mean, it's not an easy thing, but we're here to help and to educate, and I think that the more that a caregiver learns and knows, the easier it's going to get for them too.
And I think the key is education, Marcia, like you said, and we have a resource library, whether they come to Arden Courts or not. We like to give out education to help them with this journey, no matter what stage they're starting at.
Right, beginning or middle or toward the end, whatever you need. We're going to take our last break, but stay tuned. We'll be back with more from Sunny at Arden Courts.
Do you need the advice of an elder law?
The inability to recognize the obvious often occurs with Alzheimer's, particularly among the family members who care for them. When the time comes for you to decide that someone you love needs more help than you can give, will you be able to recognize it? Don't wait for a crisis to make the decision for you. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Wandering is a common problem for people with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's also a problem for family members who care for them. Keeping them safe and secure means never letting your guard down. And even though deep down you know it's time, it hurts to have to ask for help. But it could hurt them even more if you didn't. We know. We understand. We can help. Arden Courts. Feelings of depression, isolation, and frustration are common among persons living with Alzheimer's or related dementias. It's common among those who care for them, too. It takes a lot of patience and courage. It also takes knowing when you can no longer do it alone. At Arden Courts, memory care is all we do. Talk to us. We know. We understand. We can help. Don't let guilt keep you from making the right decision. Visit arden-courts.com. Arden Courts follows equal housing opportunity guidelines.
Disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Welcome back. My guest today is Sunny Netto from Arden Courts Memory Care Community of Delray Beach. And Sunny, we've been talking about how to help caregivers know when's a good time to place, how to get through some of the feelings that are associated with that, some good things to do when you're transitioning, starting to go to a daycare maybe, even visiting the community and getting them familiar with the surroundings. And that's another way to transition. Bringing familiar things from home. Once someone's there, sometimes, you want to bring something that they really love, so that's a comfort to them. But let's talk now about, in the last couple minutes that we have left, things that are probably not the best to do when a person is starting to transition into a new community? What would be something that we would probably say is not a good idea to do?
Well, I think one thing is don't oversell it to your loved one. I mean, that's I know that is a first instinct to do because you want them to not be mad at you. They want you, you want them.
They want them to agree with you,
right?
And they're never going to agree with you.
And they're not, and that's unrealistic. So don't try to oversell it and think that they're going to go along with it.
A lot of caregivers are looking for permission from their spouse or their mother or their father. They want their permission, and it really,
or even their kids.
From their kids, and the adult child, for instance, they don't want to go against a parent's wishes. But if you have a parent who has Alzheimer's and dementia, and you're trying to get their approval because you're the power of attorney, and you're the one that is making these decisions, and you're trying to get them to agree with you, that's going to be a long road, and it'll probably never happen because they're not going to. They don't have the wherewithal to process all of the reasoning of why it's a good idea, and they just don't have that process. So don't oversell it. What about visiting? Is there such a thing as visiting too often and too soon?
Yes, as we mentioned earlier, you don't. We suggest that you limit visitation in the beginning to avoid unfortunate meetings and unfortunate times that they may share. And so,
like, I want to go home, and they're going to say that. I mean, people are at home in their own home, and they're still saying, "I want to go home." So, home isn't really where they live. Home is not where they came from necessarily.
Home can be a place that they grew up at, or sometimes home doesn't even mean the house that they grew up in. Sometimes home just means a place in which they feel safe or something that is familiar. And unfortunately, that may not be there. That may, it's just a fleeting moment, though, and you just try to redirect and you get them to feel comfortable in some other situation.
And that's the whole point, too, because you want them to feel safe, happy, and comfortable right away, in those first few days. Because if they realize people are nice to me, I get what I want, and I feel safe and comfortable, they're going to ease into it and say, okay, I'm okay. I don't have to have my spouse with me every single minute in order to feel safe and comfortable. My needs are being met, and that's a good place to be. And that takes a few days, for that. And then day by day, they start transitioning because you get them involved in activities and all of that. But something else that caregivers do that I'd like to caution them about, especially caregivers that get real emotional. If you're bringing your loved one in and you're, bringing them to live into a new community, and you wear your heart on your sleeve and you don't know how to hide it, why is that a bad thing?
Because when your loved one sees you upset, it's hard. It's going to upset them.
They're gonna get upset too. They're gonna mirror your emotions. So if you're coming in and you're all weepy and you're sniffling and holding back tears and you're changing, your emotions, they pick up on it. I mean, I think they pick up on your emotions.
Absolutely.
Even more when they have dementia because they can't reason in their head, but they feel, their feelings are, to me, I think they're more magnified.
Absolutely. Yeah. They feel the vibe. They feel what's coming across. They feel, they hear tone and whatnot, and they just know that this person is really upset.
Yeah, and why are they upset? And it has something to do with me coming here. So if you're a caregiver and you can't control and keep those emotions in check, maybe you're not the best one to bring your loved one to the community. Maybe it should be a close friend, a caregiver that you have in the home that
or
maybe
adult child,
somebody else,
whatnot.
Yeah.
And not that it's bad, because it's a grieving process. It's something that it's a hard road. It's not easy. So,
So I think the caregiver, to your point, the caregiver has to transition as well as the resident is transitioning, because all of a sudden both their lives have changed. But when they stand back and look at it, it's for the better.
Right.
Yeah, for both of them.
Right.
Let's talk for a minute. We got a minute or two. Realistic expectations. You know, caregivers expect a lot, and they should, because it's the person that they love. But, you know, you have to be realistic about it, because a person that is new to your loved one is not going to be able to do the same thing the same way at the same time that you would do at home.
Right. We try very hard to make a service plan that explains exactly what their routines are and things like that. But yes.
So you have to give a little wiggle room on that, because
Absolutely.
not that it won't get done, but it will get done, but maybe not in the same way at the same time,
Right.
in the same, you know, manner. So we want to, you know, caution everybody to, you know, keep your emotions in check, keep your expectations in check. Trust the people that
Right.
you're giving your loved one to. If you've made that decision and you trust who you're giving them to, you should be all good. So, Sunny, tell me, if somebody wants to contact you for some information, how would they do that?
You can either call us at 561-498-5552, or you can stop by at 16150 Jog Road in Delray Beach. It's the corner of Linton and Jog. But just call or come by, and we'd be very happy to give you a tour, education, resources out of our resource library, whatever it takes.
Whatever they need.
Whatever
you need. So if you're
We're happy
dealing
to
with
do it.
caregiving and dementia, go see Sunny at Art and Courts. She is there to help. And thank you, Sunny, for being here today. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm glad that you did. We will be here same time, same place next week, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, either on the local radio or on the internet. And we live stream right here out of Boca Raton to you in your home. So don't forget, give somebody a hug, because they need it, and so do you. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teal. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.
1470 and 95.3 FM, WNN.
All County Healthcare, Inc. is locally owned and operated, serving the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward counties for the last 25 years. The practice of medicine is changing dramatically. All County Healthcare, Inc. still does it the old-fashioned way, where our nurses and healthcare professionals come into your home to service your medical needs, providing you the fastest and best care possible. For more information, call 954-717-7027. And remember, Medicare Home Care is covered by Part A of Medicare with no out-of-pocket cost to you. It's your decision, and only your decision, on what healthcare agency you use. Call today. All County Home Health Care, Inc. at 954-717-7027. License 200999096. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Amp2.tv presents You and Your Doctor, teaching you to live a longer and healthier life. Proudly sponsored by All County Healthcare, where people are the heart of our business. All County Healthcare is a Medicare certified agency where one call will service all your home care health needs. For more information, call 954-717-7027 or visit our website, allcountyhealthcare.com. Now, let's get informed to living a longer and healthier life. Here is your host for today's show.
Hello, South Florida and beyond, and welcome to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, sponsored by All County Healthcare, a Medicare certified agency. You can hear us every Tuesday night from 6 to 7 p.m. here on 95.3 FM and 1470 AM, or if you missed any of the broadcasts, it will air again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. on 95.3 FM and 1470 AM right here. You can also watch us live on All County Healthcare, their Facebook page. So just type it into the search bar there on Facebook. And if you have any healthcare questions, please call 954-717-7027 and ask for Maddie. She will be happy to answer all of your questions. So thanks a lot again for listening, and welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have on the show a plastic surgeon from right here in Boca Raton, which is great. Dr. Scott Farber. Dr. Farber, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
And thanks for joining the You and Your Doctor show. I want to get it right into it because I got a lot of questions about plastic surgery, and I know that our listeners do too. But first and foremost, you have a lot of experience in being a physician. You're a fourth-generation surgeon, is that correct?
I am a fourth-generation surgeon.
Wow.
Medicine and surgery has been around my family a long time. And it kind of was the impetus for me becoming a doctor and a surgeon, just seeing that sheer gratitude and appreciation of helping someone during a tough time.
Okay, so what kind of surgeons are in your family tree?
Yeah, so my great-grandfather was a general surgeon. Around the time where people were trying to decide either medicine or surgery, he would deliver babies and do general medicine. And he was really the generation that started the whole surgical movement, if you will. My grandfather was a general surgeon. My father was a vascular surgeon. And now I'm a plastic surgeon.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, that's a lot of different fields there.
Yep.
So the vascular system, general surgery, and now you're a plastic surgeon. Let me ask you, how did you get involved in plastic surgery? Why didn't you go into, say, vascular surgery or general surgery and follow in the footsteps?
You know, it's a good question, and I think that plastic surgery was always a very natural fit. It really combines the science and artistry that really interests me and makes me want to help patients.
And when we say plastic surgery, are there actual plastics used in this type of surgery?
So that's an interesting question, and when I would have medical students and residents working with me, it often was the first question I would ask them. And in fact, it's not that we use plastic. It's basically that it comes from the Greek word to mold, which is plastico. So plastic surgeons, plastico, because we mold and shape the body.
I never knew that. I'm glad I asked.
Well, there you go.
That's fascinating. So it's plastico. You said it was the Greek word?
Correct.
Wow. How long have you been a plastic surgeon?
I've been a plastic surgeon for 8 years.
8 years? And just down here in South Florida?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're right around the corner here in Boca Raton, correct?
I am. My office is Centro Boca, Camino and Powerline.
Okay, that's 7700 West Camino Real in Suite 403.
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's get right into a little bit about plastic surgery. Now, I know with doctors, you're trained to provide care in a lot of different specialties, but there's always, it seems like, you know, one amazing thing about doctors is always one thing that they do maybe better than anyone else in the area, or something that they study more or more focused on. What is your biggest specialty in plastic surgery?
So I am fellowship trained in cosmetic surgery. I did additional training in cosmetic surgery. One of the beautiful things about plastic surgery is that it's all encompassing. It goes from the head to the toe, which again is one of the things that really fascinates me about plastic surgery. So I do primarily cosmetic surgery of the face, breast, and body.
Okay. And what is the most common surgery that you do?
Right now, we're doing a lot of circumferential tummy tucks. I think that a lot of women are coming in for mommy makeovers, so to speak, where basically they're having children or gaining or losing weight, and they really want something that's going to treat their breast, body, and overall return their body to its original form. The circumferential tummy tuck is a technique where we're not only addressing the front of the abdomen, but we're actually doing a sense of a lower body lift, where you're getting raising or elevation or lifting of the thighs, lateral thighs, medial thighs, front of the thighs, as well as the buttock, in addition to really contouring the abdomen. Really restores the natural shape and the hourglass figure to these women and men.
Okay, I'm glad I asked that because I was thinking the actual tummy, but this is different parts of the body as well.
Yeah, essentially it's a lower body lift, which can benefit not only women but also men as well. Not only does it tighten up the skin of the tummy, thighs, and buttock, but it also tightens up the internal musculature. So what happens is basically as you get older or as you gain weight or lose weight or undergo or have pregnancies, the underlying muscle of the abdomen loosen, and you really can't regain that tone with diet, exercise. So no matter how many sit-ups, push-ups, or exercise you do, that is always going to be loose. So what we do is we tighten the abdomen internally as well as tighten the skin externally to really provide the best result.
So it gets to a point that it doesn't matter how much work you're doing in the gym, it just may not work, that exercise is going to help out.
Correct. There is a point to which diet and exercise works, and everyone should maintain good diet and exercise because without it, they're not healthy, and the overall results won't be as good. However, there is a point, and after that point, only surgery can really take you to the next level.
And the other side of that is for someone who's working really hard in the gym and they've made those gains, maybe they develop like a little extra bit of skin or hangover kind of thing.
That's exactly right. So people who have lost a lot of weight essentially get deflated. So it's great that they lose all that weight, but then they have that loose extra skin that needs to be taken up somehow.
And another great thing that's going on is with bariatric surgery, how it's helping people with their health, but also after bariatric surgery, do you get a lot of cases where maybe they have the extra skin or?
Absolutely. So the circumferential tummy tuck that we were discussing really was initially designed for those patients that would lose a lot of weight and have that extra loose hanging skin to really improve that tone and really take up that extra skin. What I have been doing is carrying that over to people who may not have had massive weight loss, but just to people who may have had extra skin for other reasons. So it really is a procedure that can be used in a variety of different ways to achieve the same results.
Okay, and then this helps a lot with love handles as well?
100%. So not only does it stop in the front of the abdomen, but it helps with the love handles, the quote-unquote muffin top, if you will, the extra fat or skin in the back area. So it really does a nice job with the entire lower body.
Now, you mentioned men before, and I got to ask you because lately I've been seeing kind of men come around. They're getting manicures now. They're getting pedicures. Are they? You said that you see men come in for this kind of treatment or surgery. What kind of percentage are we talking about? Is it growing or? Absolutely.
I mean, men undergoing plastic surgery, both Botox, fillers, injectables, as well as surgery, is growing exponentially. They're kind of figuring out that they want to look as good as they feel. And the aging process doesn't stop just with women. It really happens in men and women. And as we men are trying to stay young and fit, may be helpful for jobs. You know, people want to, if they're looking to apply for jobs and they're hesitant because of they might be a little older than the routine pool of applicants, this is something that can help them as well.
And how does it work? Do they, does someone interested in a circumferential tummy tuck, do they come in, they call the office or they go on the website and make a consultation and you kind of go through a body?
There are a variety of different ways you can contact the office. And we try and make it as easy as possible because we understand that not everyone has a lot of time to be on the phone and make appointments. So you can either go to the website, www.farberplasticsurgery.com. You can call the office, 561-503-2700. Or you can go online and just it takes you and you can make an online consultation. The staff is very willing and able to make these appointments very easily for you. And then you come in and we talk. And whether or not circumferential tummy tuck is the right option for you or not, at least we can establish the dialogue and figure out what procedure is the best for you.
And that's Farber, F-A-R-B-E-R. and it's farberplasticsurgery.com. How long does the treatment take for a circumferential tummy tuck, and then how long is the recovery time? And last but not least, let me throw one more in there. Is it outpatient kind of thing?
Right. So it all really depends on a case-by-case basis. I mean, it's very difficult to determine how long the procedure is going to take. It really depends on what we need to do. So it usually typically ranges in the several-hour mark. The recovery is not incredibly traumatic or painful. People are usually back to work within a week or two. And then...
Which local hospitals are you doing these surgeries at?
Yeah, so we work at Boca Regional, West Boca, and Delray Medical Center.
Okay, great. So Boca Regional right down the street here from the studio, West Boca Medical Center.
Correct.
About 10 miles west here, and then Delray Medical Center. Everyone knows them in Delray Beach. We have a couple more minutes before the break, and since we're on cosmetic, I want to get a little bit into breast surgery. Now, because you're fellowship trained, that opens up a lot more avenues of cosmetic options, correct?
Well, yeah, so it's very important to really know your surgeon's credentials. And the most important is that you find a board-certified plastic surgeon. So I am fellowship trained in both breast, body, and face. So I have a very good understanding of all of those anatomic areas. Other surgeons may be just facial plastic surgeons or ENT surgeons or dermatologists or other surgeons that may not be board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeons.
Okay, and what are some of the, not to say the word cutting edge, but some of the more advanced treatments that, some of the more new treatments that are available today for breast surgery?
Breast surgery, there is a certain degree of normalcy and routineness that we do with breast surgery. However, the newest techniques involve the implants. They're very safe. They're cohesive gel implants where they cut them in half and they could be like a gummy bear, okay? So they don't leak out. They really maintain their shape and form. The other more sophisticated techniques that we're using involves dermal matrices or mesh products that actually act as an internal bra to help support the implant so that there is a lot less stress on the skin.
Okay, and now are you also doing these type of surgeries in like breast reconstruction sense, maybe for someone who's had cancer?
They are definitely done for breast reconstruction as well. In fact, most cosmetic treatments start in the reconstructive side. So we use them for reconstructive surgery. We figure out what works and what really gives us the best results, and then we take that over to the cosmetic side.
And how does that work during a mastectomy surgery? So the surgeon comes in and does his part, and then you're brought in immediately, or is it down the road that they maybe come back to you when they've made the decision to have a reconstruction?
Yeah, it basically can be either.
Okay.
Breast reconstruction can be done on an immediate basis or a delayed approach. And it really is, again, a case-by-case basis in terms of the other aspects of the disease or what the situation is in terms of the reconstructive results.
Okay, and now I want to ask you again about recovery, because I think people think the first thing is how long is it, am I going to be out if I have a breast reconstruction or a cosmetic breast surgery? I know each case by case is different, but what's the typical time frame?
I generally tell my patients 1 to 2 weeks. So the majority of my procedures, patients are back in action in 1 to 2 weeks.
Oh, wow, that's quick. So that's something they can do, within the same month, they can be right back to work or
exactly.
or school or whatever they need to get back to. Now, where did you go to school? Where did you go to medical school? Let's start there.
So I went to medical school at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Prior to that, I went to college at Tufts University. I did my surgical training in Michigan State, as well as my plastic surgery training at Michigan State. and then I did a cosmetic surgery fellowship at NYU.
Oh, okay. I was just listening to their radio program on the way here.
Yeah, absolutely.
At NYU Langone Center.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I always listen to them a little bit on the way in to see what they're talking about. So you did your fellowship training at NYU?
Yes.
Okay. And what brought you down to South Florida and I guess right here in the Boca Raton area?
So I grew up down here in South Florida. I went to high school and all my schooling at Pinecrest.
Oh, nice.
So I really enjoyed it down here. I think the people were kind and compassionate, and I wanted to bring my family and raise my family down here.
Nice. Now, Pinecrest, is that in Fort Lauderdale?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's not too far from here. And now this brought you to the Boca Raton area. You mentioned your family, immediate family right here in Boca Raton?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nice. What do you think of the area?
I love Boca. I think that it's definitely up and coming. I think that we have a beautiful downtown area that's booming. The Boca Art Museum is wonderful. The new buildings and the restaurants and the culture. I think it's really an exciting place to be now.
And the medical community, there's a little bit of everything here from all different hospital networks.
The medical community is top-notch. It seems that all of the specialists that may have been in a big city before or to train understood that Florida and South Florida lifestyle was incomparable and decided to move down here. So yes, so even though we are maybe smaller than a metropolis such as Miami, or New York or LA, it is top-notch medical training.
And let's talk a little bit about age range of patients. When you were saying about the Boca Raton area, I'm thinking baby boomers, but then, with men who are, maybe needing to get that, kind of once-in-a-lifetime job that we were talking about before and want to have that look. I mean, what age range of patients do you treat?
My patients literally span from 5 years old to 95 years old.
Oh, wow.
So really, that's another great thing about plastic surgery is that there is such a wide breadth and depth of practice that really is fascinating.
Yeah, I don't see pediatric plastic surgeons, so you actually treat from 5 years old up.
Yeah, so when I first came to town, I did something where we started a laceration service where patients can call us if they have a laceration or if their child has a laceration, and we can repair it in the office or at the time so that they don't have to go through the trauma or the length of time of an ER, and they get me, a plastic surgeon, doing the repair. So it's a lot more comfortable for the child. The results are good, and it's really very easy for the families.
Now, most lacerations that happen to pediatric patients, are they face, arms,
they really
legs?
can be anything. They really can be anything.
And this is important because at that age, obviously the parents don't want them to have a lot of scarring because that can be something that can cause a lot of issues, with all that we've heard about, maybe like with bullying or something, or so that kind of road.
Yeah, so we're always concerned about scarring, and plastic surgeons are trained to repair lacerations in the best aesthetic way possible.
Wow. I actually, I'll tell a quick story. I had a family member who was actually attacked by his dog, and I found it fascinating that in the ER a plastic surgeon was called in to repair all the dog bites on the arms. So that's something that
it's a nice thing for the community.
Yeah.
I think that we all have to do our part to help the community and really make people be happy that we're here. So that's what I like to do to make people proud of where they live.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, since we didn't get to talk too much about the face, what kind of, what's the most common plastic surgery that you do on the face?
So, again, and I'm reiterating the fact that it's very important to make sure that you see a board-certified plastic surgeon, plastic and reconstructive surgeon. Very prevalent today is Botox and fillers. So Botox is a way to get rid of a lot of the wrinkles above the forehead, above the eyebrows, between the eyebrows, and the crow's feet next to the eyes. Then as you go below the eyes, it really is about filler. It's all about volume. So as we age, we lose volume, and we have to replace that volume to really improve the overall aesthetics and rejuvenation of the face. So there's all varieties of hyaluronic acid fillers and collagen builders, etc. Voluma, Juvederm, Restylane products. The newest, latest, and greatest fillers actually are a little composed a little differently to help with movement of the face to make them look a lot more natural looking. So we do a lot of Botox and fillers, both men and women of all ages. We also do a lot of facial rejuvenation procedures, facelift, neck lift, upper eyelid surgery, lower eyelid surgery, brow lift. So, and they really go hand in hand. So you always, if you're going to undergo facelift, you're going to undergo eyelid surgery, you also want to volumize. You need to provide volume to make the overall appearance much better.
And the fillers and Botox, that's something that's done right in your office?
Yeah, so we do it right in the office. When we're addressing facial rejuvenation, it really is a multi-level approach. So you have to address the skin through skincare products. You really want good skincare that involve retinols and things that are going to help the skin regenerate faster and be healthier. Then you want to volumize, which is involving replenishing all the lost volume that may have happened. Then you want to lift. So it's a multifaceted approach to facial rejuvenation. A lot of it can be done in the office, Botox, fillers, lasers, skincare, and then the surgical procedures are obviously done in the surgery centers.
If someone is interested in having Botox, how often do they have to come to the office? Is it once every few months to have it done, or?
So Botox typically lasts about 3 to 4 months. So most patients will come in on a 3 to 4 month basis just as a routine follow-up so that they can look the way they want to look all the time. If patients get a little longer out of it, 6 months, then great. If they get a little less, then they want to always look the way they want to look, so they may come in a little more frequently.
I see. And we talked a little bit beforehand. I asked you a little bit about melanoma and what plastic surgeons can do for melanoma, because I noticed, like, this time of the year, I mean, the sun is blazing, and if you don't have tint on your windows, or even if you do, I mean, driving around South Florida, I drove today from Boca to Palm Beach Gardens and back here, and it was just, I felt like I got a sunburn on the driver's side. So
yeah, so it's very, very important to have appropriate skin protection and sun protection. If you're going to be in the sun, you must wear sunscreen. Everyone should be wearing hats and protective clothing. It's also very important to have routine dermatologic follow-up to make sure that they're checking your skin, to make sure that there are no suspicious lesions. Once or if suspicious lesions are found, then it's very important to take the next steps to diagnose and figure out exactly what those lesions are. Up until that point is usually where the dermatologists get involved. Once there is a diagnosis of some sort of skin cancer, then the plastic surgeon comes in to excise and repair and really take care of it.
Okay, so do you work hand in hand with the dermatologist?
I work very closely with the dermatologist. In fact, it's a very symbiotic relationship. So if I see something that's suspicious, I may send to the dermatologist to work it up and evaluate it. Or similarly, if they see something or biopsy something that they don't like, they will send it to me to excise.
Okay. And where do you most commonly do surgeries for melanoma? Is it face, arms, or skin cancers in general, I should say?
It really can be anywhere.
Really?
It really can. We see a lot of it in the face, especially plastic surgeons see a lot of it in the face. A lot of times other specialties will take care of other parts of the body and then send the face to the plastic surgeons. But melanoma involves a little more larger excisions and reconstructions, so we usually see those, and they can be anywhere on the body.
And then your job is to actually remove it from the body, so you said excise, so that's something so it's cut out of the body.
Correct.
but then your training allows you to maybe work on so there's not as big a scar or that kind of thing.
Once the excision takes place, then the plastic surgeon does the reconstruction to reconstruct that defect to make it look as though it wasn't there.
Unbelievable. Well, we ripped through a lot of different topics. I want to give out your info again. We're here with Dr. Scott Farber, plastic surgeon, right here in Boca Raton. The website is farberplasticsurgery.com. Spells his last name F-A-R-B-E-R, so plasticsurgery.com. And the number 561-503-2700.
Yep.
Right here in Boca Raton, 7700 West Camino Real Road in Suite 403. So really just a few miles here from the studio that we're talking in. One last thing I want to tackle in terms of plastic surgery is that I hear the term Mohs a lot, M-O-H-S. Is that something that you're involved with?
Yeah, so Mohs surgery is a specific dermatologic surgery that Mohs surgeons or dermatologists perform. Now, we talked a little bit about melanoma, and the reason melanoma is a significant disease is because it can metastasize. Squamous cell cancer or basal cell cancer or other forms of skin care that don't metastasize as often. Typically, Mohs surgery will be used to excise those basal cells or squamous cells in areas of cosmetically sensitive parts, such as the eyelid, the ear, the nose, the lip, anywhere on the face. So if you have a lesion that really cosmetics and is of the utmost importance, Mohs surgery is a technique that allows you to excise these lesions and looking at the specimen under a microscope so that no additional tissue is taken, only the tissue that you want to take. Melanoma requires usually a larger margin of normal tissue, so it's not as frequent that we will do Mohs surgery with it.
And most of those types of surgeries are done in the office or the hospital setting?
They're typically done in the office.
Oh, that's great. So people can actually walk right out.
Correct.
And just again, for the listeners, the hospitals you're on staff at are Boca Raton Regional Hospital, West Boca Medical Center, and Delray Medical Center.
Correct.
Just one more quick question. I'd like to throw a curveball question at the end. Yeah. What are your hobbies and passions outside of medicine?
Well, my family is my first and foremost
definitely
hobby and passion. I also play golf, I play tennis, and I'm an avid foodie, if you will. So
okay. You're in the right spot.
It's absolutely true. I like to cook, and I unfortunately also like to eat.
So. Yeah, you get out to these restaurants in Boca Raton, Delray, and Fort Lauderdale.
Absolutely.
Boy, we're in a great area for that. Golf, you have a favorite track around here that you golf, course?
I actually like Emerald Hills down in Hollywood.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's one of my favorite golf courses. I grew up down there, so it has a special place in my heart.
And you said you native South Floridian?
I am.
Oh, awesome. I'm from Jupiter, here from Hollywood.
Oh, great. Yeah.
That's great. I knew we connected right away. Well, thanks again for coming on the program and kind of taking us through the world of plastic surgery kind of quickly. But I just want to let everyone know, if they want to find out more about you and a ton of area of interest you have, farberplasticsurgery.com. But thanks again, and hopefully we can do this again in the future.
Thank you very much for having me.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back on You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier.
All County Healthcare, Inc. is locally owned and operated, serving the Tri-County area, Palm Beach, Dade, and Broward counties for the last 25 years. The practice of medicine is changing dramatically. All County Healthcare, Inc. still does it the old-fashioned way, where our nurses and healthcare professionals come into your home to service your medical needs, providing you the fastest and best care possible. For more information, call 954-717-7027. And remember, Medicare Home Care is covered by Part A of Medicare with no out-of-pocket cost to you. It's your decision, and only your decision, on what healthcare agency you use. Call today. All County Home Health Care, Inc. at 954-717-7027. License 200999096.
Getting older is not for sissies. That's what one of my patients says. And it's funny, but it's true. live long enough and you'll get arthritis, skin cancer, probably one of the common chronic diseases like CHF, COPD, diabetes. At All County Healthcare, we teach you how to manage your disease. We make sure you know how to take your medications and how to recognize signs and symptoms before requiring hospitalization, no matter how many visits it takes. You didn't move to Florida to be sick. You moved here to enjoy the rest of your life. And that's exactly what our team of nurses, therapists, and aides at All County Healthcare help you do.
You are listening to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, an informative show that helps you find answers to questions you always wanted to ask, but did not have that somebody that could make a difference in your life. Call into the show if you have a question at 888-565-1470, and we will put you on the air to inform all our listeners. Now, back to our show.
We're back. Welcome to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, sponsored by All County Healthcare, a Medicare certified agency. You can hear us every Tuesday night right here from 6 to 7 p.m. on 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. Or if you missed any of the broadcasts, it will air again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. on 95.3 FM and 1470 AM. You can also watch us live on All County Healthcare's Facebook page. So we're on there right now. And if you have any healthcare questions, please call 954-717-7027 and ask for Maddie. She will be happy to answer all of your questions. So for the second half of the program, really excited to have on Dr. Clive Woods, a foot and ankle orthopedic surgeon. Dr. Woods, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great.
Thank you for coming on the show, You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier. Man, I'm a big fantasy football guy, and last year there were so many foot injuries.
Oh, yeah.
I have so much to ask you about because I'm trying to think of what I want to do with my teams this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you get a lot of those questions from patients?
Yeah, actually, I get a lot, especially like the most recent injury from last season was Derek Carr when he had that ankle fracture and syndesmotic injury. I remember even actually a couple years ago when RG3 had that dislocation, I had to go on the radio to talk about what does an ankle dislocation entail and the treatment. And, big thing for him is mobility. So a lot of people were like, well, is he going to be able to be mobile? I guess we kind of know what's going on now. But
yeah. And it can affect, if you have a bad foot or ankle, it can affect maybe other parts of the leg, the knee, maybe even go up to maybe even the hip.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of times, and even in the office, I see this a lot where, if you have an ankle injury or even rehabbing it, one of the biggest things why I like people to get into physical therapy is when they're getting back and rehabbing, making sure they're walking correctly. Because I have people that come in and it's like, I'm compensating because of this leg, putting a little bit more pressure on the other side, so that's bothering them. Or sometimes the knee because they're walking different, trying to offload certain areas. So yeah, it can definitely kind of go from the foot all the way up to the knee, hip.
Well, I know you're a foot and ankle surgeon, and you tackle a lot of different treatments, but and one thing I find amazing about doctors, I was telling the doctor before, is that when you guys treat so many different guys and gals treat so many different conditions, but then you're able to specialize and be maybe one of the few in this area to tackle a certain condition. What is your main specialty?
So my main specialty is orthopedic foot and ankle surgery, and what that kind of entails is anything from fracture care of the ankle to reconstructions of, if someone had any kind of flat foot deformity, ankle replacements. I do bunion, hammer toes. I also do neuromas. That's the reason why I kind of like foot and ankle, because it's not just, the replacements. It's not just fracture care. You can do soft tissue, Achilles tendon tears. So you kind of encompass all of orthopedics, but it's mostly focused on the foot and ankle.
Let's stay on Achilles for a second. I never knew foot and ankle surgeons actually treat Achilles tendon issues.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely do a lot of Achilles. Actually, I have one tomorrow. And the thing about Achilles is that a lot of the times back in, a couple years ago, a lot of the Achilles surgery, we do that open. And what I mean by that is a larger incision. And the main thing with Achilles repair is wound complications. But, a lot of times when you fix this, the chance to re-rupture is less. Nowadays, now what I'm doing is minimally invasive Achilles repair. So it's done through a small incision, transverse incision, approximately 2 centimeters and 2 stab hole incisions. So wound complications are down. In addition to that, before you could not step on an Achilles repair for about 6 weeks. Nowadays, with this new technology, in 2 to 4 weeks, you're able to put some pressure down walking in a boot with a little bit of lift to offload the Achilles. So with the technology now, people are getting back a lot faster.
Yeah, so a great case. I mean, they're back in half as much of the time as they used to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Out for the Achilles injury, I should say.
Yeah.
Now, the Achilles, it comes up. Does it come up from the heel and move up the back of the leg?
Yeah, so where the Achilles inserts on the heel, or what we call the calcaneus, and then it kind of blends into the calf muscle, which is the gastroc and soleus. And, with the Achilles, there's so many different it's just not ruptures, because I do a lot of Achilles things. So meaning like you can have the normal Achilles rupture from the weekend warriors. You go out on the weekend, you play some basketball, then you feel like someone either threw something in the back of your leg or kicked you, and you're looking around, and usually it's a Achilles rupture. And then I also have patients that have just wear and tear of the Achilles tendinosis. You can get Achilles tendonitis. You can even get problems where the Achilles inserts right into the heel. So I also do a lot of surgeries for that, sort of that insertional Achilles pain.
Okay, and then the Achilles now, I've heard that it can, when it ruptures, it can be a very excruciating pain. Oh, yeah. Have you heard that from your patients?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of times this is the typical story that you hear, is that when they have an Achilles rupture, they kind of, like if you're playing basketball, they always think like someone hit them in the back of the leg with the ball, or actually kicked them. The best story I ever got was a boxer that I did, professional boxer, that he actually was training, and he thought his trainer actually kicked him in the back of the leg, and he was getting ready to turn around and punch him. And he was like, no, I didn't do it. So I definitely wouldn't want to be that trainer. But, yeah, it's definitely excruciating initially. And then after that, it kind of settles down.
And do you see those injuries, Achilles injuries of all ages, or?
Usually, so it depends on which. If you have an Achilles rupture, a lot of the times when you're going to see that is around that 30 to almost 50 range, because what ends up happening, where it actually ruptures, the blood supply to that area is not good. And a lot of times you get people going out playing, basketball that weekend or softball, and next thing you know, they're running for a base, or they're jumping up and they feel that pop.
And then that's when they have to see a foot and ankle surgeon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Get on the speed dial right there.
Exactly.
Now, going back, because I got to get a little insight in my fantasy football world.
Okay.
So a big thing last year was turf toe.
Yes.
What actually is turf toe?
So what turf toe is, on your actual big toe, there's a structure called a plantar plate that kind of, in a sense, holds that bone and that joint together. And so, yes, you have flexibility in your big toe, but what it allows you to do is kind of get that push-off power. The reason why they call it turf toe is because before everyone played on grass, so there was a little bit of give to the grass. Now with artificial turf, it's a little hard. So a lot of times with wide receivers, you can see they don't get that push-off power when they're trying to run, because they get excruciating pain from that.
Now, turf toe is something that can be treated with just without surgery, or is it something that they have to have surgery?
Yeah, well, it's kind of two ways. It's definitely something that can be treated without surgery, depending on the severity of it. A lot of times, just some immobilization, some rest can get that better. In addition to that, sometimes you can put what we call a carbon fiber insert, just trying to stiffen that sole of that shoe, so when they're trying to push off, they're not putting as much pressure on that toe and causing what we call dorsiflexion. So that's dorsiflexion is sort of when that toe goes up.
Okay. Now, and if surgery's not needed, are you available to do sports medicine and watch them through the process and provide
for sure? Because I mean, a lot of the one thing about and that's another reason why I got into foot and ankle, because a lot of sports medicine orthopedists don't do as much foot and ankle. They'll do Achilles and maybe like what we call an osteochondral lesion. But I kind of take care of all of the foot and ankle sports. So especially in my practice, we do a lot of sports. So I do all the Achilles, the what we call osteochondral lesion, turf toe, Liz Frank injury, all of those things.
And let's talk a little bit about your practice. You're with the Gelb Group.
Yeah.
So it's, the website's gelbmd.com. And that actually is right here in Boca as well, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about the practice. They had a great website. I was on it before. I got a ton of info on you. I thought it was really easy to use. So I think that's what people are looking for nowadays. A lot of people are making decisions off of videos and websites, so it's important to get good information out there.
For sure. I mean, in our group, it's myself and Dr. Gal. He does most of the sports, shoulders, elbows, knees. I do all of the foot and ankle and even the sports foot and ankle. In addition to that, we have in the office x-ray, so you don't have to worry about going to get an x-ray. In addition to that, we also have physical therapy. So we have 2 physical therapists, and we have approximately 3 to 4 physical therapy assistants. So a lot of times when we do surgery, we send you over to physical therapy, and we can keep a close eye on you to see how you're progressing.
Oh, nice. So it's like one stop for everything.
Exactly.
Physical therapy on site, x-rays on site.
Yep.
Foot, ankle, orthopedic care. That's great. Now, how long have you been with Dr. Howard Gelb?
Yes. So I've been there since 2003. So I just finished my 4th year, going on my 5th year with him.
Okay. Since 2013, last 4 years.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure. That's great. So you're right here in Boca Raton. What hospitals are you on staff at?
So I'm on staff at West Boca Medical Center. In addition to that, Northwest Medical Center. And I also operate out of a surgery center called Park Creek Surgery Center.
Oh, wow. 3 different ones.
Yes.
And then also available in the office as well for for consultations and treatment options that don't require surgery.
Correct.
Like maybe a turf toe or something like that. I want to ask you also, you talked a little bit about ankle, but we didn't really get into it, and I know that is a huge part of your practice.
Yes.
Now, starting with ankles, now I know the most common in my experience with ankle injuries were for the ankle to turn inward like this. Can the ankle also turn the opposite way and be a sprain or a break?
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely, what we call that motion is the typical way that someone sprains their ankle is inversion. So that's the turning in. But also you can evert it. A lot of times people have inversion injuries, which ankle sprains are one of the most common things that you'll see in the ER, and I treat a lot of ankle sprains. And the one thing I do with ankle sprains, especially being a foot and ankle surgeon, a lot of times I get people going into, let's say, the ER or something like that, and they get this ACE wrap, and then they come to me 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, and like my ankle still hurts. Usually for ankles, a lot of times I kind of mobilize them and get them in a boot for about 2 weeks to get it to calm down. Then I get them into a lace-up brace, and we also go over some physical therapy things to get them back into playing whatever they do. The other thing that like we were talking about with the actual Achilles repair, there's also new things that is going on with a actual ankle instability. So a lot of times ankle sprains don't require surgery. However, if it does not heal back correctly, meaning a little stretched out, or if it doesn't heal and the ankle's constantly rolling, that can be a bad problem where people get arthritis. So what we actually do is reconstruct those ligaments. In addition to that, there's a technique where we use an implant called an internal brace, which nowadays what that does is it's a actual suture that's pretty strong. And before, we would have to cast you for 6 weeks so the repair doesn't stretch out. With this internal brace, once you put that in there, you get literally, if I wanted to, in 2 weeks, can get you walking in a boot. Funny thing is, I have one of my patients now that I actually play golf with, and you know, she comes in and she's walking, and at 6 weeks I see her at the golf course, and I'm like, I don't think I cleared you, but she says she feels great and she's swinging the driver, so that's good.
Well, that's got to be great to see. I mean, you didn't want to see her out there already, but but that's a testimonial to the care you provided, though, in a way. So it's good in. Yeah, so that those are some treatments for, I guess, stretch ankle ligaments that you were talking about. So that's not actual broken ligament. That's something that's stretched. In some cases, broken with the internal brace.
Yeah. So what this is so what I'm talking. I also explain a lot, because a lot of times I get patients that come in and say, "Oh, the doctor said my ankle was sprained, but it was torn." Usually, what an ankle sprain consists of is 3 grades. One is ankle sprain, grade 1, which is it's kind of stretched out. Grade 2 would be a partial tear, and grade 3 would be a complete tear. So a lot of times those complete tears, the grade 3s, or sometimes may require surgery in the future if they have chronic ankle instability where the ankle continues to roll.
Now, if that happens to one of the listeners or even myself, would the best thing to be do still obviously get to the emergency room or a foot and ankle surgeon? Yeah. But if you can't get right away, is ICE still the acronym ICE, compression, elevation? Is that something
Correct.
Still you recommend if you can't see someone right away?
Exactly. So that if they're not able to get in to see me or get to the ER, that would be the first thing that I would tell them to do. So you want to ice, compression, elevate, and even try and do a little bit of mobilization. So it's that what we call RICE therapy.
And then now, do you also are ankle fractures common too?
Oh yeah, for sure. I do really? A lot of ankle fractures. And you see them a lot in the ER coming through, and I also have a lot of people that refer me ankle fractures. A lot of the times, depending on what type of fracture it is, because there's a whole classification for different type of ankle fractures. Some can be treated non-operatively, meaning just casting or placing in a boot when they have like a simple just fibular fracture. But when they have 2 of the bones kind of broken and the joints kind of out of place, those usually require fixation.
Okay, but there are some options that non-surgical options.
Correct.
For ankle fractures. Well, that's good to know. Mm-hmm. Definitely. We're here with Dr. Clive Woods, foot and ankle orthopedic surgeon, located right here in Boca Raton. The best way to get some more information about Dr. Woods is gelbmd.com. That's GELBMD.com. His partner is Dr. Howard Gelb, who is an orthopedic surgeon as well. And you said treats shoulder.
Yes. So what he does is he's fellowship trained in sports medicine. So he does a lot of shoulder injuries, elbow injuries, knees, hips. In addition to that, he'll hip replacements, knee replacements, so ACL injuries, so all of the sports injuries.
Nice. Wow. You have a great practice there. Now, we talked a little bit about Achilles. We talked a little bit about the ankle. Now, another part of the foot I think that's commonly, injured is maybe the top of the metatarsals. Is that a common injury? Because I know when I played basketball, I fractured the 4th metatarsal, I want to say.
So a lot of times with the metatarsals, that's the one that can be treated non-operatively if it's a single metatarsal. It really also depends on the displacement of the fracture. Other things that can kind of lead you to operative treatment is if you have multiple metatarsal fractures. One of the bigger ones that everyone talks about is what we call the 5th metatarsal. So we call it Jones fracture, and that's the one that everyone just was talking about with Kevin Durant, and everyone's like, well, now it's sore. The problem with Jones fracture is the blood supply in that specific area is not good. So it takes a very long time to heal. So let's say if your 4th metatarsal fracture may have only taken 6 weeks or up to 8 weeks to heal. Well, these Jones fractures can take 12 weeks or even sometimes longer. So for a professional athlete or even our college athletes, that's a long time, 3 months out. And let's say after that, you're like, okay, well, it still hasn't healed. Now you have to do surgery. So what we actually do for that is simple incision, minimally invasive, a screw that we put across that metatarsal fracture to cause some compression and allow it to heal.
And that 5th metatarsal, that's on the outside. That would be from the pinky toe all the way into, I guess,
correct,
the leg bone there.
Yeah. So where it would actually be located is if you take your small toe and you kind of bend it up. So right where that crease is in that joint, that's the head of that bone, and then you kind of follow it back for a couple, probably I would say a good inch or two, and right at that tip, you'll feel like a little prominence on the side of your foot in the midfoot portion. That'll be the tip of that fifth metatarsal. But where you actually get that fracture is what we call the metadiaphyseal junction. And what that actually is if you look at the metatarsal, there's sort of this flare, meaning that the actual bone kind of funnels in, and right where it goes from funneling to straight, that junction right there is very poor blood supply.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's fascinating. So we went from the heel to the ankle to the top of the foot.
Yep.
Let's go around 360. Underneath, another basketball injury is you don't hear too much about it, but I think it happens with wear and tears with the sesamoids.
Oh yeah.
Maybe is that the ball of the toe?
What
area?
I tell people the sesamoid is easiest way to know what a sesamoid is. So a sesamoid is a type of bone. It's a bone that floats in a tendon. The most common one that everyone will know is the kneecap. The kneecap is that's the largest sesamoid bone. Now, what you actually have sesamoid bones in your thumb and in your big toe. So I get a lot of times I'm showing an X-ray and the patient goes, "Is that a fracture right there?" I'm like, "No, that's your sesamoid bone." A lot of times where I see these sesamoid bone injuries are a lot of my ballet dancers, because they always go on end point. In addition to that, it really depends on the shape of your foot can actually cause a little bit more stress. So people with very high arches and what we call plantar flex, so that means the first ray of that big toe kind of points down a lot, so they put a lot of pressure on that bone. They can get it that way. I have nurses that actually are in the hospital that have those type of injuries just from walking all day. They get stress injuries. I actually had one girl who she went to UCF, and I guess the thing at UCF is to go to Disney World every week, and ended up with a sesamoid injury. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. From walking on her toes at Disney World. Do you see a lot of you mentioned a couple different sports? Do you see a lot of injuries from cheerleading as well? Basketball, football, soccer.
Yeah, and usually, so I see all of those injuries. So cheerleading, I get a lot of ankle sprains.
I was going to say that.
Same thing with basketball. Other things that I get in basketball are Liz Frank injuries. What a Liz Frank is it's a ligament that goes from the base of the second into a bone called your medial cuneiform. One of the biggest ones that everyone knows is when Udonis Haslem had that foot injury. That's what he actually had. So that's one thing that I treat a lot too. In addition to that, football, you get all kind of fractures along with the ankle sprains. Yeah,
it happens. And Udonis just signed again, right? That's awesome.
The Mr. 305, love it.
Yeah. And you have a tie to the Miami area. Did you go to medical school or train down there?
Yeah, so I trained, did my orthopedic training at University of Miami Jackson Memorial, so I did orthopedics there for 5 years. And then after that, I did a foot and ankle fellowship with one of the well-known physicians named Roy Sanders, along with Arthur Walling, who are very well-known in the orthopedic foot and ankle community.
Wow, and did you work with the University of Miami sports programs?
Yeah, so when I was down there with Dr. Lee Kaplan, I did a lot of work with him at the football games with the University of Miami, also the basketball team. We would also help the women's soccer team, women's basketball. So we were kind of everywhere with the University of Miami and also with the Marlins at that time too.
Oh, wow. Two great programs. Are you a Hurricanes or Marlins fan, or what's your team?
So my team is, so that was the weird, I am a Miami fan, but I went to Florida State, so that kind of took over. So I'm a big Florida State fan, and I love Dolphin and Heat. That's
okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that works.
Yeah.
We'll allow that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Do you get down to, is that something that you do during the season, get down to a few games?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'm always at the Dolphins game. I grew up right by the stadium where I can literally go and lay on my mom's truck, and now I can't see the Jumbotron because they covered it. But back in the days when I was a kid, that's what I would do.
Wow. That's fantastic. I've been a Dolphins fan since day one. Did you grow up down here?
Yep, I grew up in Miami Gardens. Went to Miami Carroll City Senior High.
Okay.
Big football team. They just won the state championship, so that's good.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Now, I had two doctors on tonight. Both were Florida natives. I'm a native. I'm from Jupiter. That's really neat as well. Lastly, what are your areas of interest outside of medicine? You play a lot of golf?
Yeah, I play a lot of golf. That's mostly, that's my passion there.
Perfect. Thanks again for coming on the show, Dr. Clive Woods, gelbmd.com. I'd like to interview you again in the future. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for letting us share with you a longer and healthier lifestyle. If you have a doctor or are a doctor and wish to be on the show, call AMP2 TV at 866-244-5422, and we will put you on the air as soon as possible. Tune in next week for more information on living longer and having a healthier life. World know that being heard via advertisements is the name of the game. AmpSquare.tv understands how important advertisement is and is proud to express that it's truly the only plugged-in internet television production company on the market. AMP2.tv live streams all their shows across all the major selling markets in the U.S. and abroad. Call them at 866-224-5422. The AmpSquare.tv library allows productions to be seen over and over again, making commercial platforms more usable. Call 866-224-5422. Toll free 866-224-5422. AMP2.tv, the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP2.TV. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. AMP2.tv presents Tell Us Your Business, where you're invited on the air to tell us what makes your business stand out in the community. It's important we hear from you to tell us all we need to know about what you do best. Tell Us Your Business uses the latest radio and television production systems, and all shows can be seen on amp2.tv. If you have a question for our guest, call 888-565-1470. Now, let's get ready as our guest hits the airwaves and informs us about what we need to know on Tell Us Your Business.
To the phone. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tim Hopper. I'm with Key West Paranormal Society, and I'm also the demonic manager and also the Southeast manager for the group. And we also have with us Amber.
Hello, I'm Amber Carrick, and I work with Key West Paranormal Society, and I've been with them for since 2013.
So what do you do for Key West Paranormal Society, Amber?
Well, I do a lot of the camera work. I have a few of my little gadgets I have that I've collected over the few years that we tend to acquire. And I can't think of.
So when you go into these houses and businesses and stuff, and you do the investigations, you take your equipment, or how do you work that?
Well, yeah, we take our equipment in, we use it. But I think most important thing that we use is probably our intuition and the feeling we get from what we see and what we feel from the home and the homeowners and the situation that's there. So there's a lot more that goes into our investigation than just gadgets, I should say. So we use a lot of our resources like the internet to look up the location. Do I need to move closer? There we go. So yes. So I look into, we have researchers that will research the land and what's gone on the land. And so we know a lot before we go in about the land and what's happening with the home.
So that way when you do go in and investigate these homes, you find out that there's some paranormal activity going on. You go ahead and do the investigation, or do you do the preliminary first? Or?
Well, we like to do a preliminary to get a feel of what's going on in the home.
Right.
A feel for the people also, because that's really important. Because, this day and age, we have people that just want to call you in because they want to get famous, or they want their story out when there's no story to be told. So that's one thing we try to watch for when we do a preliminary. And then we get a feel, we want to help these people, and we want to help them understand what's going on in their home, we take them and we end up doing our investigation. And
then once you have your investigation under wraps, you go back and you tell the clients what you found, or do you do it at that moment, or do you dissect evidence and then present it to them?
well, we try to break down the evidence before we see the client to figure out what's going on. But even if through our evidence, through our EVP, our voice recorders, and through the other stuff, if we don't find anything, it doesn't mean that nothing is going on. Because if someone believes something is happening to them, it's happening to them. So it's also then afterwards presenting them with evidence, if we have some, or presenting them not with the evidence and saying that we didn't find anything, and still helping them cope with what's going on in their lives.
When you go on these investigations, do you find anything dark or negative, or mostly positive?
I've never encountered, thank God, anything negative. I think I'm more scared of the living than I am of the dead. So, I mean, that's a big one. Some people can kind of be a little scary when you're going into homes of people that you've never met before. Yeah, that can be a little more scary than actually something tapping you on the shoulder that isn't there. So, yeah.
If you do find something negative, what do you usually do?
Assess the situation. Call you.
And call me.
Call you. Make sure that what we're seeing is not, because there's multiple things that could be going on with the person, whether it's drug abuse, alcoholism. I mean, these are all questions that we ask our clients, and people lie. And it's up to us and while we're doing the investigation, to investigate the people, not just the location in the house, but also the people, and get a feel for them and see what's going on with them. So, I mean, that's another big thing, too. Finding out whether or not, because you know as well as I, that it's not always demonic. It could just be something bad that's happening in someone's life, and it's presenting as something. And so then, explaining that to them, and I think we've done a pretty good job so far over the years of being able to help people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think so, too. And Amber, it's always a pleasure working with you guys. It really is. I'm also part of the team, but I'm also the demonic manager as well. So when Amber and the other team members, they may find something that's a little bit questionable, they usually call me when I'm not with them. But it's very, very rare that we find anything demonic. But once we determine that is demonic, then we have to take different steps and precautions, because it is a dangerous world. You're investigating something that has never lived before, and some people call them fallen angels, but they're devils, and they would like nothing better to do than to harm us. So we have to be very cautious when we do enter these places, because we don't know what might be lying dormant inside these homes or facilities, whatever the case may be, because they do travel any and everywhere. They have that capability. So, but with Amber and her team, I've always enjoyed working with them, and it's something that is very, very well put out, and I just been told I got to put the mic in my face.
Get a little closer.
But that's okay. But anyway, it's a different type of world that we live in, and now that we're approaching this more of a scientific approach now, using different types of instruments, like you said earlier, a lot of times it's by using your feelings. You learn to grow with those feelings. You learn to enhance them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when you go in these places, you don't have your instruments. You don't have that equipment to back you up. So you have to rely on your feelings. And it's a whole new world now.
I think it's something everyone should do. Is when you walk into a room or you're walking down a dark alley and someone comes up and you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach that something's not right, you need to follow that instinct. Or, you know, when you're going around and all of a sudden you pick up a penny and something tells you to play the lotto and you, no, I'm not going to do that. And the next person buys a scratch off and ends up winning, you know. Listen to your inner guidance. It's there to help you. We all have it. It's whether or not you want to tap into that or not. And I think we do a pretty good job with our clients of helping them understand and helping them tap into their own abilities, and also to letting people know that no, you're not crazy. No, you don't need to take any medication. And no, you don't need to douse your house in holy water and salt, but you just need to
have the courage and the strength to take what is yours back.
Absolutely.
And you have that power and you have that strength to do so. Whether it's negative or positive. A lot of times when you encounter these spirits, it's hard to determine if they're negative or positive until you actually do the investigation and you get that feeling, like you said. If you run into someone in a dark alley and your gut tuition tells you, you know, you need to avoid this situation, you kind of like run the other way. A lot of times spirits do the same thing because they're not sure of us either. And so, you know, they're afraid of us also. And a lot of times they'll run and hide. And, you know, and they'll slip around.
I've always wondered, too, if we're just ghosts in their world in a parallel dimension and we're the ones wandering around poking people and they're going, what is going on, you know? And it's just, I mean, just looking at it from all different directions is what I personally try to do. I just like to, you know, look into all aspects of it, and I want to see the light, and but I do also know that if there's things that aren't going well in my life, also I need to back out from an investigation, because I think that's one important thing for an investigator is going into situations. You need to actually have a clear head. You need to be able to protect yourself so you don't take any hitchhikers home with you.
Exactly. And I know myself, my spouse tells me never to bring anything home with me.
I get the same thing. Don't bring anything home with you, honey. I love you, but it's only a 2-bedroom. We don't have enough room, so.
But that's the question, though. Do we have things at home that we are aware of? Do we bring something home with us when we do those investigations, or are they already there? That's another question also.
I believe when you are, I like to call most of us paranormal investigators and people in the paranormal community that we are light workers. We are kindred folk. We see something and we do things that other people kind of laugh at and point at, but now people are starting to kind of open up to this and what we do and what we see, and have more of a curiosity. I think the curiosity has always been there. And it's not always dark. What we do is not always dark. I have seen a lot of light in what I've done and helping people and getting those messages from loved ones and how touched they are when we're able to help them understand, not only scientifically, because what we do really, there's no amount of science that would back what we do at this point. I mean, things are changing, but at the same time, just helping people in general. I think as human beings, that's what we should and do strive to do.
I think that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to help these people, because this is not something that we chose. This is something that we were called to do. And I know myself, I fought a battle when I started doing this. A lot of people do not want to deal with the demonic part of anything. It doesn't matter whether it's a doll, whether it's a child, or whatever the case may be. Demons are real, and I know they're real. I've encountered them. I've seen them. I've experienced it. They will attack you in all sorts of ways. When I approach them, I am prepared to do that battle, because that's what I'm trained to do, and that's what I do. But like you said, not everything that we investigate is dark.
No. And, I mean, I have a Catholic background and was in a Catholic school, and I had so many questions and nobody could ever explain. So I went out and, researched all this, and this was way before we had internet. I'd read books and go to the library and take out everything, and nobody had any answers for me. So I always looked for things, and I discovered things on my own. And one of the things, even whatever background you come from, that you have control over your life. You have the ability to allow darkness in or allow the light in. And when things get unbalanced in your life, that's when you can have problems. And it's almost like, when your immune system is down, you catch a parasite. And that's kind of how I look at the demonic, is kind of a parasitic type deal. And when you keep yourself healthy, and you can keep these things out of your life, but you can also invite this. And I think a lot of times when someone is dealing with something demonic, it is very well something they have invited into their home, because you can have an exorcist, you can have a demonologist come in and explain everything to you, and 6 months down the line you're getting a phone call from those people again because there's something going on, because they've reinvited it back in. When you get these things out of your life, you have to change your way of life also, in the way that you look at it, and start bringing a lot more positive into your life in order to get rid of this.
Exactly. I believe in that. As you can conjure your own hauntings. Demons do not invite themselves in. You bring them in yourself, whether it's through different types of practices that you do, whether it's through your mental state, whether you may be the lowest of the low. You bring those demons in. They're invited in. Once they get in, it's very hard to get rid of, because they keep feeding on that negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they thrive for. And they also want to thrive to bring you down to the level to where you have no control over that demon. And when I go into a situation, I look at the mental state of that person. I also feel the atmosphere of that area that they may be in. And I'm also looking at things that might be out of character. And once I determine that, then I go ahead and I do what I have to do in order to try and get the demon to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody that claims to be a demonologist is a demonologist. Sorry. We're already getting phone calls, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. I also want everyone to know out there in Radio Land that there is help for you. If you're encountering something that's not right in your life, that's causing you problems, that not everything that does go bump in the night is a haunting. But we also want to bring this message to everyone out there that if you are encountering something spiritually that you're not sure of, whether it's positive or negative, there is help for you.
Mm-hmm.
And we will provide that help. And we do it at no charge.
You're not alone.
You are not alone.
And you're not crazy.
Absolutely
and
not.
And we're not going to make fun of you, because how many times have we walked into a home and they're like, you're going to think I'm crazy. I'm like, well, you're not the one that's, on a website and coming into somebody's home that they don't know with gadgets. I'm like, that's crazy. I believe you. This is what we do. You can tell me the craziest of stories. I want to hear it. That's why I'm here. I want to share. I want to understand. I want to learn. And I want to help you understand what you're going through. I might not have all the answers. I don't think any of us have all the answers. But just knowing that you're not alone can even help people. And I think that's what we do when we come in and you're like, you're not alone. We're all a little weird in our own
Absolutely.
in our own way. And that's the greatest,
But that's what makes us unique.
That's what makes us human, and
Exactly.
then that's what makes us beautiful. We're able to reach out and touch one another in ways that you could never imagine. And you know, there are people out there right now that are going through dark moments in their life, and sometimes if you just reach out and if you see someone and you reach out, that's all it takes, is to shine a little light on it. That's it. Just shine a little light on it.
But that's what we do. We try to give you back that sense of being comfortable in your life. And like Amber said, we're not perfect in everything that we do. There's things that we question ourselves as being investigators. We all have questions. We don't have the answers to them, but we can definitely put you out there in the position to where you're comfortable in your setting. And that's what we do. And we have been with this group for a long time. And our founder, Tammy Beckel, she's always
amazing.
She's always pretty much gave us the tools to work with. And she's the founder of Key West Paranormal Society, and we're very loyal to her.
And we have Miss Peggy
We
also.
have Miss Peggy, and she's an excellent investigator. And we have
We have an amazing team of people. And you know, I think too, for myself, in the last 2 weeks, that you all have been there for me, and it's been an amazing. We're a family. We're a dysfunctional, functioning family. That's what we are. But we love one another, and we all have different ideas and different backgrounds. And I think that's what makes us so amazing, is that we're able to share our thoughts and ideas and talk to one another. I mean, some of the conversations we have, if you could just record us in Starbucks, I'm sure that's why the people start getting up and moving away from us before a pre-investigation, when we start getting into some of our odd talks, you know? So yeah.
But that's what makes us unique.
Let's put it on the table. Let's talk about this stuff. I mean, it's out there now on the television. A lot of it's great stuff. I'm glad people are talking about it. I know there's a lot of paranormal people that think that some of these shows put a bad spotlight on what we do, but in a sense, it shines a light also on what we do, and it makes people reach out, you know, and say, "Oh my God, there are people out there that do this," you know, and are there people in my neighborhood? And they get online and they start looking, and you know, it's amazing, some of the people that have reached out and talked to us and found us. I mean, I've seen some amazing things.
Absolutely.
Doing this.
And professional people. Professional people reach out to us because they don't know where else to go but to us. And we are a legitimate paranormal investigator group. A lot of groups are claiming to be investigators, but they don't have a clue.
Yeah, they'll come into a house and they'll shake things up and they'll say, "Okay, yeah, I can say this. Be wary of people that say that they only do things scientifically. And they just come in with a bunch of gadgets. Because if you're doing a scientific investigation, you're going to have equipment and you're going to have mediums. You're going to have both. You're going to have that's what being scientific is having something and having the opposite of something, so you can see and feel. Now, if the medium is getting the same thing as the equipment, there's no doubt in my mind. But there's always, you know, the one doubting guy. Yeah, it does validate for us.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know. Yeah. And I know and then you kind of, you know, I think just being a human being for long enough, you start to read when people's are full of BS.
Right.
So you get to read that in people over the years, and you're just like, okay, yeah, sure.
I remember in some of my church settings that I would bring up the conversation of the spirits. And a lot of times you'd get a lot of what I would call pew warmers. They would get up and leave because they don't want to accept that. But that's part of our lives, is the spirits that have been here and the spirits who are going to continue to be here. whether we are comfortable with it or not. But we can give you that sense of comfort, letting you know that, like you said earlier, your loved one may be trying to contact you, to let you know that they're okay. And I know several cases that I've actually used myself as a conduit for those spirits, because they were not able to communicate in the world that they're used to communicating in. And it's very dangerous. I don't recommend that to anyone. I have to have that feeling, sense of security when I do something like that. But it does happen.
Yeah, I've seen that where we had done an investigation and we went back a couple of times. And in between, you know, she had watched some of the paranormal shows and she was using flashlights and all sorts of stuff when we weren't there. And she was quite honestly inviting something dark into her house. And there was nothing that we could do to stop this. We told her what to do. And when she called us back, of course, stuff is still going on. You're still telling us you're communicating. You're using conduits. You don't know what you're communicating with.
Absolutely not.
And, you know, if those first communications that you got were from your father, that's validation right there. When you start picking up stuff in your own home to use to communicate with something other, that's when you can invite something in, you know, whether it's dark or just
something
playful or
exactly.
wants to be, you know, a jokester or a prankster, or, you know, we don't know.
But
and
do you
I mean,
want that?
Do you want that in your house? I mean, do you constantly, it's I guess it's like having, you know, an invisible kitten in your house.
Right. But we don't want to invite things in.
No. Your home is your safe space.
Absolutely. And that's where your sense of ability lies. That's where your strength lies, is in your home. And you do not want to bring that stuff in.
And call someone in to figure out what's going on so that we can help you. And listen to these people. We've had enough people that have been doing this for, you know, for a long time, and have seen things and gained from their experience, and listen to them. And, you know, if we can't help you, I mean, we can find someone that may be able to help you, but, you know.
And we do have divisions in 7 states.
Mm-hmm.
So keep that in mind as well. If
Absolutely.
we can't help you in that state, we always have someone in that state that
Absolutely.
we can contact.
We have even sister groups in other states also,
Absolutely.
not just our division of Key West Paranormal. So.
Well, Amber, I want to thank you for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
It's always good seeing you, Tim.
It's amazing the work that we do, and it's always amazing to be around you and watch you and some of the other team members do the investigation. I'm very proud to be a part of this group, and I'm glad that we can come together sometimes.
Absolutely, till our next investigation.
Absolutely.
So, any questions, call us.
Absolutely. We're only a phone call away.
This has been Tell Us Your Business, where a special guest comes on every week and tells us what they do. All shows can be seen on amp2.tv, and if you wish to be a guest, call 866-224-5422 and tell us about your business. That's 866-224-5422. This has been an amp2.tv production. The opinions of sponsors.
Welcome to the Deborah Tendrich Show, where we connect the dots between community, health, and business. The more change we create, the more change we inspire. So let's get this community healthy. This show is brought to you by Eat Better, Live Better, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to help prevent, reduce, and reverse childhood obesity. With over 12 million children and over 78 million adults suffering from this epidemic and poor eating habits, EBLB is dedicated to reducing those numbers and creating permanent change and a long-lasting positive impact in the community. For more information, visit eblb.org. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Deborah Tendrich Show, starring Deborah Tendrich. We're here today with Kendra, Erica, and Lindsay Martinez, so it's going to be a great show. A little bit about me, in case you're just tuning in. I'm actually the founder of Eat Better, Live Better, which is a nonprofit organization fighting childhood obesity. I went through the struggle of obesity from the time I was a child, and when I became an adult, I was still obese. I had to adapt to a healthy lifestyle, and I lost 70 pounds in 2013. I have a daughter, hi Amira, she's listening, and she's 8 years old now, but when I did my transformation, she too had to adopt a healthy lifestyle with me. So I'm really, really passionate about getting families and communities healthier, which is why this show is all about connecting the dots between community, business, and health. So I have Kendra here, who's actually on a personal journey, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You're like adopting the healthy lifestyle, and you're so busy because, first of all, everyone give a round of applause because her song is number 12 on the billboards, which is really hard to do, which means she has to be really good. And she's going to be doing a live performance of her show today on the show to take us out, take us home.
Definitely.
You know, so we're really excited about that. So Lindsay is also like a health enthusiast, and she's going to actually provide us tonight with a lot of tips and about fitness and nutrition. So really excited for you to be here too, and also talk about what got you inspired into fitness. My voice has not come all the way back yet because I work with kids all week. You know, fighting the obesity is just, you know, getting kids healthier is really important. So Kendra, tell me about what you're trying to do.
Well, in terms of fitness, I mean, fitness is a state of mind. It's being healthy all around, mentally, physically, and, you know, emotionally. So with me in this industry, and in any industry, you know, there's a lot of pressure. There's just a lot that's involved. So in order to keep a really nice level head and a really nice, you know, physique and just the whole mindset of how you look, it's really important.
Because image is really big for you and what you do.
Yeah, it's really important, and without the notion of being shallow, it's just really important to just feel good, because then that shows through in your music and how you present yourself as an artist.
And your role model. So, you know, the kids see the young girls who are like, oh, okay, so in case you are just listening and you can't see us, we are like a brunette, a blonde, and a redhead.
Charlie's
And we're all really healthy, positive women in this room, which is fantastic. And I feel the energy and I love it, so I'm really excited about tonight. But your image is portrayed upon a lot of people. You're a public, you know, figure. So these girls are looking up to you. And the last thing you want is them to see you like driving through fast food and eating, you know,
which
things
I never do.
You really try to stay keep consistent with clean eating.
Yes.
And have you noticed, like, it just gives you a fresher look on life and a cleaner mind and less ups and downs with your mood and just a lot more stability?
It really does. I mean, even like if I have like one M&M, I'm like so sensitive now because I've just been, you know, cleansed and detoxed so much. So, and it really does help you stay consistent, because when you're consistent with one aspect of your life, everything else, it just carries on through, and it's just a ripple effect, and it's only a matter of time where everything is just on a really good momentum.
I agree. You know, and what about you, Lindsay?
Well, I've been on this journey my entire life. I've been a gymnast my entire life, and when I moved to South Florida, I found it wonderful with the air outside and being beautiful outside every day to start off my journey with everybody else involved. And I started a company called Happy, Healthy, Stronger.
That's so cool. I love that name.
It was indicative of everything that I want to do and everything that we're trying to do with everybody. So it's been really, really helpful to people, and I found that my mission in life has coincided with my career, and I can't do anything better than that.
You could tell you're happy with what you're doing because it just illuminates off of you. You know, like, I love Happy, Healthy, Stronger. Or is it Healthy, Happy, Stronger?
No, you said it right.
I said it right? Oh my God, okay.
Right.
I got it right. So tell me, you like literally came out the womb with dumbbells?
No, actually, no, I was a gymnast my entire life. So I continued that until I was 23 years old. And I was also a coach. And through coaching, actually, I developed my need to help people. I found that is exactly where I'm supposed to be. That is where true happiness comes from for me, and that's helping people, not giving of my things, but giving of myself. And I really need to make a career out of it. And then Happy, Healthy, Stronger has allowed me to hit more people than just that one for one-on-one personal training. So it's been really good.
So, Kendra, you have to, and everyone listening actually has to follow Lindsay's Facebook page because she puts these workout videos. They're short, to the point, but they're amazing. And I used to train people, and I actually did a lot of those workouts with my clients and things, and they're really effective. But she's really motivational. If her live or her videos will pop up on your feed, and if you watch it and try it and just try to keep up with her, it's like 10-15-minute videos.
Right.
You know, they're short, sweet, to the point, but you feel a burn.
Yeah, they're very intense, they're very effective, and they're really created for that person that can't get to the gym, or that mom that's a stay-home mom that is so busy but wants to take 5 to 10 minutes themselves to do something very intense and very effective to actually, cut down their lean body mass. And
yeah, and I do want to say it's also good for instance, it didn't bother me so much, but when I was really overweight and not sure what to do at the gym, a lot of people are insecure and they don't feel comfortable going to the gym with people who look like you, Lindsay.
I don't go to the gym. I go to their homes, honey.
No, but
yeah, I know
if you go and you see like 30 Lindsays walking around like, oh my God, in your sports bras and fit 6-pack, 8-pack. She's like this little cute blonde with like she's packed with like muscle and firm, and you can just tell. But if me, I was 200 pounds, 5'1". I came in there, it does make you insecure sometimes when you see all the little girls walking around.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing now is giving them a jump start to actually try things at home. So when they actually do get ready to go to the gym and feel confident enough, they practice, they've toned up a little bit, they've built up a little bit of their strength. So
they're feeling good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I think it's really cool.
Oh, thank you very much. I've also included nutritional tips in there because that is 70% of it, to be honest, if not maybe a little bit more.
It really is. Yeah. It so is. I mean, even just clean eating can bring out, what you thought you never had.
Absolutely.
Like just clean eating in general, it's like, oh, I have a little like 4-pack under there, or I have a little 6-pack showing through.
Right.
But then the working out comes in, and then that's when you strengthen that part of you that you just never knew that you had.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So.
And the clothes, it's so hard shopping now because everything fits. But when you're overweight, you really have to try also to find clothes that fit your body. But now once you're fit, I'm sure you go into the store and you can't find anything that doesn't look bad.
That's so not true.
Yes, it is.
It's actually not true, but thank you very much. Yeah.
But, do you guys believe that change inspires change?
Oh, absolutely. It's a snowball effect, and a change within yourself will inspire more changes within yourself. That's why I want people to try this at home and do things for yourself, because when you start to love yourself, you'll start to love your life, and you'll want more of it. It's addictive.
So do you have a particular moment in your training and when you noticed you became a huge inspiration to one in particular person, and like were the reason that they followed through and started start to finish and actually made that change within themselves?
You know what? It actually had nothing to do with weight loss. Because for me, my goal in life is not to take a size 4 and make them a size 2, or a size 2 make them a size 0. I want you happy and healthy from the inside out. I think sexy can be at any size. I think happiness can be at any size as long as you're healthy. You don't have to be skinny, because skinny is not, for me, I don't think skinny is good looking, number one, but skinny is not a goal for me, and it's not a goal for any of my clients, and if it is, I don't want to work with you.
Being fit and healthy.
Being fit and healthy from the inside out.
Yeah.
So for me, the satisfaction I've had as a woman who is on the women's side is people feeling confident and sexy and happy at the size they're at, because confidence is the key to sexiness. It's not what you look like. It's your how confident you are. And the second thing I had happen actually was probably the spark of my career. Was one of the first older gentlemen I've had here when I worked here, and he was actually able to get off some of his medication. And it wasn't that he lost a ton of weight, but he started working out, and I really cleaned up his diet. And the changes that I made in his life, knowing that I probably extended his life, it was a small part of it. Even that small part motivated me to do this for a lifetime.
That's amazing.
Yeah, just being healthy is not a destination. It's just a way of life.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I mean, a few years ago, I competed in one of these NPC bikini
You did?
contests.
Why did I know about that?
Well, like I'll show you photos after. But I competed in one of these, and I just got the trophy at the end, and that's what I saw it as. It was a destination.
So how big was the diet, the commitment, the dedication?
Oh my gosh,
It's huge.
like it's huge. It's
no pun intended, it's huge.
I mean, it's such an integral part. Like every single piece, every single you know, it was all about timing and when you ate and just
it's total dedication.
Total dedication.
And it takes over everything.
And I just remember like even sacrificing my mood sometimes because I was so depleted and so deprived of some of the elements.
Were you like telling people, listen, I'm off carbs now for like 10 days.
Yes.
Do not even call me or text me until this competition's over. So I have a lot of friends who compete and they're like, look, between March 14th and April 2nd, do not even try to talk to me. Oh, let me just...
It's miserable.
If anyone wants to call into the show and talk to Kendra, ask myself or Lindsay a question, feel free to call in at 888-565-1470. Again, 888-565-1470. But yeah, I had no idea you were a fitness competitor. That's so hard.
Yeah, but you know, at that point, I just deprived myself so much, and the competition was like a few weeks before, you know, Thanksgiving, and then after I was finished, you know, since you know, deprive yourself and you see it as a destination and not as a way of life, I mean, then you sometimes fall off, or you know, and people just get so wrapped up in just the instant gratification and 15 minutes of fame or 15 minutes of looking good.
Well, you're going to have 15 years of fame because your career is just now, like, you know, taking off. So I expect you to be there, like, you know, in 30, 40 years. So it's just now taking off. So what's a typical day for you?
Typical day for me is, you know, waking up, having green tea, because that really helps your metabolism, your digestion. And it also gives you a natural boost of energy, not like an overwhelming boost of energy like coffee would. Like, I can't do the coffee. It's like, I have heart palpitations. But but then just, you know, being in a good state of mind to start my day, and then hitting the gym just so I can get that, you know, that stress out and that sense of, you know, like aggression or whatever.
So what's your favorite type of workout?
Well, I've been getting back into doing, you know, weight training, and, you know, just in, I forget what the acronym is, but where you just keep a steady pace and heart rate, and also I'm a big fan of the Stairmaster, because that really,
I do that too.
like that's my biggest thing, and it cleanses you so much, and you sweat a lot, so that's what I love.
Yeah, I know people walk by me on the stair climber and they carry an umbrella because they're like, "Oh, Deborah's on it," and I'm like dripping sweat, like she's gonna like rain on me with her sweat. But yeah, I love it. The stair climber, how many stairs do you do? It's like a lot.
Yeah, I mostly do like 40 minutes on the stairs.
Yeah,
so
it's so much fun. I do interval sprints on the stair climber.
Yeah,
that's excellent.
It's not excellent.
Really?
While you're doing it hurts. But
yeah, but afterwards it's excellent.
It's excellent after, yeah. So what's your favorite type of workout, Lindsay?
You know, I do a little bit of everything because I work out with only my clients, because I have about 4 or 5 hours every day in the morning that I work out with them, and I train people for marathons.
Are you looking for more clients?
You know what? Right now, no, but I would definitely take on someone who really needed me.
Okay, so someone who's just, you know, at that pivotal point where they're like, I need someone I can count on to help me through my personal mental and physical transformation. That's who you would take in, someone who's almost at that point of desperation.
Yeah, I've actually picked and chose my clients right now because I need people that I can actually see a difference with. For me, it's not about the money; it's about seeing the difference in people that I can
you'll do it for free.
Make a change. No, I don't do it for free. I was just gonna say that. No, there's no free here. However, there has to be. You know, with the age I'm at and the stage I'm at in life, there has to be personal satisfaction, and not in a selfish way, but in a way that I know I am changing this person's life, or I actually don't want anything to do with it. For me, if I start training with someone, I have to see the nutritional for a week. I have to see what they've been doing, so I know where to make changes and how to make a lifestyle rather than a diet out of their life, so that they can continue on without me. My goal is to catch and release, not to catch and save. So I want to make sure when I send them out there on their own, they know exactly what to do, and they're living a lifestyle without even any thought. They know exactly what they're doing because they're feeling amazing.
Do you ever get to a point with your client where you're like, you don't need me anymore? Like almost like a touch-up, you know, every now and then if you feel like they're falling off the bandwagon, and you tell them, you don't really need me anymore. I'm letting you, that's when you set them free to the wild?
I have to tell you, in this community, I've been very fortunate with the most beautiful, amazing clients, and they've all kept me on for about 12 years, some of them.
Wow.
So for me, I've been very fortunate.
And you started this when you were 12, so.
Absolutely. I'm going to come here every day. But I've been very fortunate. I do, people know when it's time to go, or when they want to try something that's maybe with a group instead of one-on-one, and all the pleasure to them. It's like letting a beautiful bird go. So for me, it's a pleasure.
You know, I do want to talk. I have a Zumbathon this Thursday at the South Florida Fairgrounds.
Yeah.
You're coming.
Yes, I am.
She's going to Zumba, and she might even get on the stage and do a little song, too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the cool thing is, I had one parent call me and say that their daughter she's a little bit overweight. She doesn't like to work out. I said, well, does your 10-year-old daughter like to dance? All 10-year-old girls love to dance. Yeah, you know, she'll dance to some music. I said, bring her to the Zumbathon, get her ticket. If she has fun, get her in Zumba classes. And I tell people it's not about the fitness that you're doing, it's finding a fitness that you enjoy doing. Because there's so many types of fitness. If you don't like weightlifting, you can join a karate class, swimming, you can do tennis, you can join a softball team, you can do water aerobics, you could do Zumba.
There's so many options out there.
It's also great for kids to do it in a sport, so you don't concentrate on their weight. You know, if you can get them involved in a sport or something that they absolutely love, and for adults, finding something that makes them feel ridiculously alive, it'll keep you coming back, and it's a snowball effect. You know, and it can be pole dancing, women. I mean, it can be anything. There's so many different things you can do, but for kids...
You can do a twerking class.
Can you imagine? But for me, when parents ask me, can you train my child, unless it's an athlete, I usually say no, because I want them to get them involved in a sport where you're not concentrating on their weight, because then they get too conscious. You don't want that. You want them to feel good about themselves no matter what, and then add a little added, well, hey, let's do this sport, and bring it in gradually so that they can actually get a hold of their life without that emphasis on your weight.
And they build friendships, they learn teamwork, and it's team building. And yeah, it's so important for kids to be a part of something, whether their parents pay that fee to have them part of the team or not. It's important for them to do that and finish. You know, showing up to every practice, showing up to every match also gives the kids a sense of accomplishment. Like, I finished this season.
And accountability.
Yeah. It's like, I finished this season. You know, that a lot of kids don't have the responsibility to take it upon themselves to actually finish something and say that they completed it. A lot of, you know, parents don't hold their kids accountable for their actions. And at least, in a way, being part of that team is doing that.
So much so. I think it's an excellent idea, rather than to have somebody come in and emphasize on their weight and make them self-conscious for the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's why it's interesting you say that, because a lot of people, obesity, does that mean you're fat? I said, no, obesity, because 98% of kids are not eating healthy. And only 1 out of 3 to 1 out of 4, depending on the state, kids are actually overweight or obese, which means there's a huge gap of kids who are internally obese, you know, which means that they're not showing external symptoms. So weight and nutrition and internal obesity, I call it, they're still at risk for those same diseases. So that's why the nutrition is super important for what you mentioned, is the nutrition is probably one of the most paramount parts of the transformation.
Yeah, and I found that for people that do have children that are borderline, if not obese, you can really control it by what you bring home. We are their electricity, we are their restaurant, we are everything to them. So if you cannot bring it home, that is a golden rule of mine.
I know,
just
my
don't have it in your house.
Doesn't get the keys to my car, drive to the grocery
and
store,
she's not going to do it, honey. You're sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? Come to think of it, nor is the adult. If it's not in the house, 9 out of 10 times you're not going to go in your pajamas and your slippers and say, it's 10 o'clock at night, I want a bag of chips. And if chips are there, you're going to eat them. But if they're not there, you're going to find something else.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of psychological issues too. I want to get into the psychological part, but for people who, since you're amazing at transformations and getting people healthy and guiding them, what are some of your tips? Like at the workplace, for instance, because people, what if they don't prepare their lunch? You know, that's a big issue. People don't prepare.
Big issue.
And so how do you recommend people to kind of take fitness and the nutrition initiative when they're busy at work with kids?
Well, the first thing I would actually say is a series of my 5 zero willpower tips, because they have to be in the right frame of mind. The very first thing that they would want to do is change their mindset from a diet to a lifestyle. So they incorporate this in work and in their life with their children and in their daily lives.
And some people just aren't ready. It's like that girlfriend who has that really bad boyfriend, and no matter how many times you tell
not
her
ready to leave.
Yeah, and she'll finally call 3 years later and be like, I left him. I'm like, good.
It's about time.
Yeah, that's about the same thing about the diet and life change. You can't force anyone to do it.
But I can make it really easy.
But you can make it easier.
And I'm going to make it easy by saying one thing.
Yeah.
Right? One sentence.
Okay.
Actually, maybe two. But what I'm going to say is that if you eat poorly most of the time,
right,
and occasionally you eat well, this actually does nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. And fortunately, the opposite is true. If you eat well most of the time and occasionally eat yuck, that does nothing either. So you can create a lifestyle, not a diet. And you'll never set yourself up for failure, because if you're at a party, for instance, and you're on a diet for the past 3 weeks, you're having amazing gains, and then all of a sudden this birthday party comes and your willpower is low, everyone's eating cake, and they're having, say, pizza, and you want a piece of cake, and you want pizza, so you say to yourself, I am going to quit my diet right now, I'm going to start again on Monday. Well, what happens when you call it a diet? Right there, you've told yourself you failed, which is a psychological issue. You don't want to tell yourself or set yourself for any failing and bad words to yourself. Yuck, right?
Like cheat.
Yeah,
Like
cheat
when
is
you
a bad
cheat day,
word.
I hate the cheat day
It's a bad
because
word.
you don't want to cheat on yourself. You're the
Right.
last person you want to cheat on.
Absolutely. And then what happens is they end up having that pizza and they say, okay, I'm going to start again on Monday, and it's Friday, and they overeat. And the next day, oh my gosh, I'm going to diet on Monday, so I'm going to have this, and Saturday night I'm going to have this because I'm dieting on Monday. And you binge eat for 2 days before you start your diet
And then
again.
Monday's the busiest day at the gym because everyone's making up for their downfall spiral weekend of all this
True.
food and alcohol. And Monday is swarmed with people. Tuesday is swarmed with people. Wednesday, slowing down. Thursday, nobody. Fridays, everyone's out, not there.
Yeah.
And Saturday and Sunday is almost empty, and it's back
That's
to
because
Sunday.
everyone's eating Sunday. What you can do is if you had a lifestyle mindset and not a diet mindset,
Right.
when it's happening, you have the pizza and you have the cake, and then the next day you go back to eating normal. And you never have to say I cheated. You never have to say I failed. And you say I had it and I'm moving on. Happy, happy, happy.
Well, I mean, I think, it's our responsibility to create a healthy lifestyle for ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate the fact that you bring that to the attention, especially the way you put it about, if you make a mistake, just move on. It's like...
It's not even a mistake. That's the best part.
Yeah.
It really isn't a mistake. Go ahead, have it. You should live your life. And you know what? You don't want to...
Without depriving.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want to live to eat. I'm sorry, you don't want to eat to live. And you don't want to live to eat. Wait a second, let me get that right. You don't want to eat to live. No, you want to eat to live, and you don't want to live to eat. But a lot of people find a lot of pleasure in food, and I am one of them. So don't get me wrong, I'm not this person that doesn't go out to eat and have that French bread that's been freshly baked in front of me. I'm eating that, but I don't do it on a regular basis. And that's the point. And it's not even moderation. It's just allowing yourself to have, on those occasions, something that you're not going to deprive yourself of, something that you actually would want. And then going right back to eating healthy and having really good food in your home. And that when you're out, have something that's not so great, if that's when you want it.
Yeah, no, I completely appreciate that because people don't realize it doesn't happen overnight either, the lifestyle change. And kids and adults, they go through those mental changes like the cravings, the mood swings, the feel, the cringe, like I need that. And once you get past that, it's very easy to accommodate that lifestyle. It's just getting past those cravings, getting past those needs, because it does become addictive. It's a habit. It's a way of life, and you're changing it to be on a better path. Is really difficult.
Sugar is like the original drug.
Right,
Yeah, it
it's
really
the same
is.
receptors as
Yeah.
cocaine in your
Yeah.
head. So, but there are certain things that you can do to really combat your cravings.
Ideas, Lindsay?
Yes, I am right here for ideas. Okay, there's 3 things you can do. Number 1, if you get enough sleep. Now, this sounds ridiculous, but I'm talking not so much more hours sleep, but if you get better quality sleep. Because when you don't sleep well, your body craves instant fuel because your body wants to sleep and it needs to stay up.
And I
you're
get
making
puffy
it stay
when
up.
I retain water when I don't sleep well.
And that's your body. I'm sure some other people do that too.
Yeah.
But what happens is you crave simple carbohydrates because you don't have to break down simple carbohydrates. They're already in the pre-digested form prior to even swallowing them. So they're instant gas in your car. And because they're instant gas in your car, they're going to rev you up and you're going to feel great. So if you get more sleep, you'll actually crave less. And that's a huge one. The next one is make sure you have enough water.
9 o'clock bedtime, okay, Kendra?
If you have enough water, sometimes dehydration, thirst is masked by hunger.
I tell people that all the time. If you're hungry and want a snack,
Have a glass
drink
of water
a glass
first.
of water. If you're still hungry
Yes,
5 minutes later,
good for you.
take a snack.
Right,
Yeah.
because oftentimes, especially living in South Florida, you are dehydrated. Even if you're inside, people don't generally just have enough water in their diet. So you're going to crave foods that have a lot of water, just so that you can get your water intake for your body, but you're getting extra calories in the
And
meantime.
what's the third one?
The third one is to cut out processed foods.
Yes.
Okay, it's
I was
so
waiting for that.
important. Okay, but and mostly to include good quality proteins and good quality fats, because they're going to keep you satiated longer, which means they're going to keep you fuller longer, and they're going to keep you from stopping your cravings, because you're not having something that's completely being depleted in the next 20 minutes.
That's
because
so
it's
true.
simple.
Yeah, and we only have, I think, 4 minutes left. So I know, right? Time flies when you're with 3 hot girls. Gosh, the blonde, the brunette. 2 minutes. Okay, we got to let Kendra sing. Lindsay Martinez on Facebook, and do you have a website?
It's on Facebook. Yep.
All right, can you play your song? And then Kendra.
I'm Ben Utek.
Yes.
I played high school.
What was that? And Kendra's going to sing her song now, which is number 12 on the billboards.
Yes.
For the last minute, she's going to take us out. But eblb.org to find me, Lindsay Martinez.
Happy, Healthy, Stronger on Facebook.
And Kendra, Erica on her public figure page.
Yes, and also on Instagram and Twitter as well.
All right.
So
hit it. So excited.
Awesome.
midnight magic on the run, fading, falling from the sun. There's so much fire to the chase, overtaking me, taking me. I've had more than I can take, and it's breaking me, breaking me. Flying so high, I've lost my senses, taking a ride, the road to sweet sin. You are, you're under my skin. Oh, you're under my skin. Oh, yeah. You're under my skin. Oh, yeah. You're under my skin. Thank you.
Yay!
Wow. That was beautiful.
Now you get to go to bed.
Amazing. Amazing.
Now you get to go to bed, guys.
So that's Kendra Erica, and that's why she's number 12 on the billboards.
Soon to go up.
Yeah, she has to get up, like way up.
Way
and
up.
I think this show did it.
Yes, it did. Oh my God. Skyrocket.
Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the Deborah Tendrit Show, where we are connecting the dots between community, health, and business. This show is brought to you by Eat Better, Live Better, a nonprofit organization that is on a mission to help prevent, reduce, and reverse childhood obesity. Because change inspires change, the more change we create, the more change we inspire. So let's get this community healthier together. Visit eblb.org for more information. Thank you, and we look forward to having you tune in next week. Same time, same place.